Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Cardboard Hands. Yo ho ho, I should say, as it were. Welcome to a very special episode. We are live again. I don't know, what is it, episode 69 or something now, Nick? Are you keeping track how many episodes we're on?
It's got to be pretty close. We've been going for a minute now. So I just have to say though, the funniest thing about the hat is that the tag is still on. That's like the best thing.
No, the best thing about this hat is I didn't think I had it until just about 5 minutes before the stream, and I looked over at my hat rack and I remembered this stupid hat. Nothing against Luffy. I think the hat's actually cool. I just think it's a stupid hat because we paid like $30 for it at a Collecticon. Not because it's a fandom thing. You know, I don't watch One Piece. It's cool, I'm sure, but I'm not a fan of it. Neither is my fiance. She bought it to shade from the sun because it was so hot, and she came walking over with it on. I was like, "You like One Piece now?" And she's like, "Oh, no. She's like, "What do you mean? What, One Piece?" I was like, "The hat. It's Luffy's hat." And she's completely clueless. It was so funny. So yes, I'm all decked out for the occasion. We're going to be talking about obviously One Piece and the recent little, I don't know, scare that it went through. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a complete crash, but it certainly had a little bit of a roller coaster type ride. We're also going to be talking about the good old CT scanner situation that came up. It's something that I think is very fascinating, and I think it has all kinds of takes, and they're not all cold takes. I'd like to hear some of yours as well on that. We're definitely going to talk about PSA, what they're grading and what not they're grading. I guess what aren't they grading these days, really, more than anything. And I suppose we're going to have to talk about the market and talk a little bit about the great Sword and Shield race. I'm sorry, the great Sword and Shield retrace. My bad. That's happening as well. So strap up, strap in, strap up, whatever you got to do to watch this podcast. I just watched Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. So I've got some, explicits on the mind. And let's get into this episode. How are you doing, Nick? What's going on? How's it going with you?
It's going good, man. It's gonna be a good podcast. Really quick anime recommendation. My girlfriend and I'm pretty sure that it's just the first season, and I think the first season is done. I don't know if they're adding any more episodes, but Kaiju number 8 is, I don't know if you've been watching that or if you've seen that. It's really good. It's really good. We liked it a lot, and we were bummed when we made it to the end of the season. So highly recommend that to you and anybody out there watching this back. If you're looking for like a cool action anime to watch, yeah, I like it quite a bit. So
yeah, that's one that's been popping up on my radar a lot. Like, I've seen clips of it that look really cool action wise from what I've seen, just the clips of. And then I've also seen it on like my watching streaming programs and stuff. I just haven't sat down and watched it. I had a lot on my plate lately. As of just a couple of weeks, like a week ago, I shouldn't say a couple weeks ago, it was like last week that it happened on last Friday. My car is totaled. And so I got T-boned by some lady while I was going to the post office in town. Everyone's all right. Luckily, no one was injured. It was really low speed collision, and so it was just more jarring than anything. And my car took the worst of it. So I've kind of been dealing with a lot of that, and not only that, but we might be getting a new dog, a new puppy as well. So we've been kind of dealing with like, we found well, we didn't find, like, there's a we were out running some errands and we ran into a little dachshund and its temporary owner, and the owner was looking to rehome it. And we had just been talking about, because our dog is getting old, really old, what we were going to do about once she passed or whatever, if we wanted to get a dog before or if we wanted to wait a while or whatever. And I just said to to Sarah, that I wanted to get a long boy. I love corgis and I love dachshunds. And I was like, if we were to ever get another dog, I want a smaller dog and I want a little long boy. And so, or long girl, whatever it is, little long doggo. And so we ran into this little dachshund. And so we're kind of in talks right now with the owner about seeing if it's a good fit. Like, we're not really rushing because we have another dog and there's like the car situation and everything. But it's sort of one of those things that might be potentially happening. And we also got married on Monday. So Sarah and I
Oh
are now
snap, dude!
married.
Congratulations. That's a pretty big one. Save the best for last. What happened?
So we've been planning to get this date for a while. 7 is her favorite number, 22 is my favorite number, but we weren't able to really plan or get a wedding set, and we kept delaying and pushing it and saying, "Oh, we don't have the money for it. We don't want to set aside, or it's too much, or maybe we'll do it this way, maybe we'll do it that way," and it just kept pushing the envelope farther and farther. And so we decided rather than push that envelope and keep it going another like half a year, however long, to plan a big wedding and then just whatever a wedding entails, we decided we'd just do it. We'd go down to the courthouse and get the date, and then maybe do a celebration or some sort of like a ceremony after the fact with our friends when we can plan it a little better. But just having the knot tied and being all done with, we both wanted that. And so we did something really private, with just her and a couple of my friends, her best friend, and had some dinner and just made it a really nice. It's been a nice week. So we did that Monday, and we've been celebrating. But yeah, so that was my week. So I've been kind of busy with things.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. You guys have been engaged since like what, last year, right? You got engaged at Disneyland or Disney
It's
World.
been a long time, a long engagement, and we've been together coming up on a decade. So we're 9 years, and this will be our 10th year. And so it makes sense, it'll be easy to remember that way. Both the date that we got and the how long it took. I don't know what's normal to wait for, like how long you get married. I think 10 years is a long time. So shout out to Sarah, my love, for sticking with me that long, I guess I should say. I won't make it any more sappy than that. Sorry, guys.
No, man, that's awesome. I'm really happy for you. I totally understand about like all the stress of like the pomp and circumstance and all that extra stuff. But you mentioned you went and got dinner, so was it a nice bougie meal?
Well, so one of the things I may have not known ahead of time, like we didn't know what type of a wedding we would want. Like if we wanted to do some big thing in the forest or go down by the ocean, and we ended up just doing it at the courthouse. So neither of us really cared. I knew long ago what restaurant we were going to eat at after we got married. Regardless of where we got married, I knew this is a restaurant I wanted to celebrate at. And it was a nice Italian restaurant that's out in Calistoga, like a 45-minute drive from us, that we always go to alone. But if I had the opportunity to go with a bunch of friends, I always told myself this is where I want to go and have my wedding dinner. So that's where we went. We went to a really nice Italian restaurant and got some really great food. I made a bottle of wine when I was working for the winery. When we first met, I was working in the wine industry, and I just made a bottle of wine from a 2011 vintage that had bottled in 2014, and I had made it with my winemaker because I used to teach people. You could pay like $200-300 per person and come to my winery and take a class or a course, like a 2-hour course where you get a bunch of wine, like grape juice, fermented grape juice from these barrels at the winery from all these different areas. I would tell you all about it. Then you take that stuff and bring it into the room, and you'd blend it, and we'd bottle it up and put the cork and, make it all legit and put the label and stuff on it. So I had to be taught how to do that. So allegedly we have to make our own wine a couple of times. So every couple of years we do that. So I made a bottle when we first got together, and I had stashed it in my closet for all these years, and we drank that bottle with dinner. So it was really special. It was like
That's
14
awesome,
years
man.
old at
That's
that
cool.
point.
What kind of wine was it? Was it a red or a?
It was a single vineyard Cabernet that we blended with some of our like good fruits. It's funny. Sarah's been on about that wine. She's been on and on about that wine since we drank it. She's like, "You need to go make some wine. You need to go do that." That's pretty funny. So yeah, I was she was very happy with it. So I need to probably get a little bit of more into fermentation at some point. Maybe I'll go make some homemade beer or something.
The old vineyard or something. That'd be sweet, man. That's cool. Okay, so what did you eat at the restaurant though? Like specifically, like give me some highlights.
So what we ordered, so we got So it's Italian, right? So it's kind of basic Italian fare, but just done up really well. But they had a watermelon feta salad that was really nice. That looked like in season because watermelon's really juicy right now. So we started off with the salad with some Brussels sprouts with like pancetta and pecorino, and on the side kind of like vegetables and salad and stuff. And then we had some focaccia bread. They had some homemade focaccia bread with like the most garlic and parmesan you've ever seen, like caked on there, like baked into the focaccia. So it's like crispy on the outside, but really melty and like really, really crunchy and kind of buttery and just melts in your mouth and crumbles
Did you
as you
dip
eat
it
it.
in like the olive oil with the
It
seasoning?
was bathed in olive oil because
Okay,
it was
okay.
cooked in it basically. So you like literally, I saved some of it to eat with our bolognese because we ordered a pasta bolognese, of course, a lasagna to kind of split up at the table, and then just like some noodles with marinara that they do really well there as well. We had like some desserts, some like carrot cake as our wedding cake. And just the wine and drinks with our friends, and it was just, I feel like there's one other thing that I'm forgetting, but the alcohol was kind of flowing a little bit that night, I'll admit. So
Do
yeah,
you like tiramisu?
I do. I like tiramisu a lot, but the restaurant didn't offer it really. And even if I did, we went with the cake route because like it was like wedding night kind of thing. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. I
carrot
get
cake has always been one of my both Sarah's favorites, and I always really like carrot cake too. So it kind of made sense to really do the thing. It was a really good situation though. So I took pictures. I'll send you pictures
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
meal.
I want to see the food, man. You already know, but it's cool that you were able to do something kind of like low key and fun with your friends because like I remember we went to my brother's wedding like maybe last year or the year before that, but it was really nice and the food was good and all that sort of stuff. But I felt bad for my brother and his wife because they didn't even like get to eat and like everybody's like coming up to them trying to talk to. It's this whole formal kind of thing or whatever. And they were like exhausted by the end of the day and hungry because they didn't really get to eat and stuff. So to just kind of like go and knock it out and then be able to have like a nice meal and bless you,
Excuse me.
have a nice meal and drinks and stuff with your friends and just kind of relax and be low key. That's nice. That's a good way to spend the day for sure.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what matters is it's about just having a good time and staying, to me, stress free. Like I see people like getting really stressed on their wedding days, and I feel like that's the counter of what you want. And in order to not be stressed and have that type of a wedding, for me, I would have to be so rich and money had to have been so much of not an issue that I'd pay someone else to stress for me. And I can't pay someone like 10 grand just to stress for me. I can't logistically like justify that in my head, and it's not meaningful to both me or her. We really just wanted to just have it done and really have a meaningful and rememberable night that was stress free, like I said, and with our friends, our closest friends. We're gonna see all of our family very soon to kind of like go and individually celebrate with them as well. So we've just been doing that this week as well. We've kind of gone to some of our friends who couldn't make it or who the ceremony was so small we didn't necessarily like. It's not that we didn't want them there, but it's just like it wasn't the intention. So we were going to see them after. So we're going to go see some of our friends and like celebrate with them as well. So it's kind of a way for us to maybe push and celebrate a little longer as well. So a little benefit with that.
Well, when you when you come down for the front row show, we'll have to go and get dinner to celebrate. I mean, we're already going to get dinner anyways, but now we have an even better reason to do it. So I'm
Yeah, so
excited.
that is one thing is like with Seattle, Sarah was going to come with me because we were going to go together. We are going to maybe celebrate because we're just got married and have some fun that way. By the way, this is the first place I've dropped the announcement. I waited on Facebook to announce it because I had 2 days before the podcast. I really wanted to announce it on the podcast just to see your reaction and everyone. I thought that would be funny.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere, dog. It was like all regular stuff, and then yeah, I mean, again, like I remembered you had mentioned a while back, you guys were trying to figure out what the day was and see like where you were gonna do it to see if people could make it and stuff. But I'm glad that you guys just had like a relaxing, stress free, didn't have to worry about it, and ended up having a good time. So
Yeah, so that's kind of why and how that happened. But now that that's done, and we're maybe not going to be doing the Seattle the same way because we might have a new puppy if it ends up working out. We don't want to leave the puppy with like a pet sitter the first couple of weeks that we get it. Like that feels like it wouldn't be a good.
Abandonment issues, or
Yeah, it'll tear up the whole house. You know what I mean? The couch will be
yeah,
gone by the time
yeah.
where they're gone. They come back, and it's just
All your
not good for
modern
the
sealed investments.
anxiety for the dog. Yeah,
Yeah.
so she'll probably stay behind with the pup, and I'll just make the trip alone if that's the case. But we'll definitely celebrate some way or the other, and I will pass along the congratulations as well. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, please do, but
Yeah, so
all
sorry
right.
about railroading that. I knew that I had to wait until the end of the How's It Going to sort of drop that news because it would completely just overshadow, like railroad over. But is there anything else new and fun and exciting that we didn't get into before we start getting into some of the more topical news that we're going to cover in this podcast?
No, I don't really have anything crazy to report. Definitely not on that level. But we do have some juicy topics, so I'm excited to talk about those. We took like a little bit of a break, but then kind of like over the past couple of weeks, like all this stuff kind of has happened at once. So it kind of worked out that way because we got all these like juicy topics that we're able to talk about. So
Yeah, and I just came hot off of the heels of seeing Deadpool and Wolverine as well. So just without spoiling anything to anyone watching, if you're a fan of Marvel, take your time to go see this movie. Try not to get spoilers for it. It's a lot of good stuff. I would definitely say it hit the mark on what it was trying to do, and I'm very excited for what the future has in store for it. But without saying many things, because I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone, it was a great movie. We got the little collectible pin for it's like a Deadpool pin for going for the opening day or whatever, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's all. That's all before the news. Now we have a lot to get into. So Nick, I
yeah,
want you to choose. Where do you want to start in this journey of spiciness that we're going to go? Why don't you pick one of our 4 or 5 topics to start with?
let's just get right into it. Let's talk about this CT scanner, dog, because this kind of came out of nowhere. To be honest, like you had sent me that video. I think the first place I ever even heard somebody mention it was on that PK stream. But then you had texted me that video, and it's just. I mean, it makes sense that it's like okay, of course, like something because they got stuff at the airport that can see through your bag and stuff like that. But yeah, like being used in a TCG or like a sports application is bonkers because I think I was talking to you about it, but there's this I think it's Flawless by Panini, and all the cards are extremely expensive. It only comes with one card in this sort of like sealed Pelican case briefcase thing, but the brief I don't know, like I'm just pulling numbers here, but the briefcases are like $15,000-$20,000 a piece, but you can pull like 7-figure cards, like the Logo Man, the crazy Logo Man that was super popular that sold for like $1 million raw. That came out of like Flawless. So if you're buying like a case of Flawless, which is a lot of money, obviously, but if you can see through that kind of stuff with the CT scanner and pick out like the 101 autos of the biggest players, like you could make 6 figures potentially, like doing that kind of stuff. And then obviously, like you could then resell all the briefcases that have like less valuable cards in them or that aren't plus EV to open or whatever. And technically, they would like still be sealed. And it's in a weird area because it's like you're not weighing, like you can't weigh that, but like you literally saw through. It's like and then like disclosing that, and then does that bring in like a moral like it's nuts. But like lastly, because I'm kind of all over the place and I want to hear what you have to say, but like the thing for me is like radiation that would kind of freak me out. So like not being a professional trying to operate a machine like
Well,
this.
I don't know if they uses radiation per se. I don't know if a CT scanner is per se radiation. I'm not entirely sure it's the same.
But it's like I don't know if it's but like I don't think it's 100%. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure like you have to be a professional and like there's safety concerns around it. Like I'm not entirely sure there, but yeah, and then also like how adept do you have to be or how experienced do you like could you YouTube a video on how to run one of these things, or does this take somebody that is like knowledgeable specifically in this field? I don't know, but yeah, like what are your knee-jerk reactions, and what do you think?
Okay, well, let's just get the easy stuff out of the way. CT scanner, as far as we know, is a medical piece of technology that exists and has existed for a long time that lets you kind of look at an item or something that's not alive, typically speaking. Though I think they can be used for on living tissue as well. I think that's what they use it in medical stuff. But it breaks things down layer by layer, so you can look inside of something. And recently, that video that came out, it's almost at 100,000 views, by the way, which it was like under 20,000 the first day, and it's just growing and growing. Shows that this guy has figured out, and like you asked just now, whether it's able to be figured out online or this guy basically went on Craigslist and he bought something for $1,500, a broken down machine, and he like applied fixes to it and he got it working, and he somehow configured the settings to the point where he's an engineer, I think he said. So it's like he's probably smarter than the average person when it comes to like using that kind of technology. But I don't think he was like a trained medical technician or anything like that. And so it's very clearly possible. Now, how easy it is or how hard it is, or whether you or I could go online and find one for $1,500 and then repair it and use it is a completely different story. But I do feel like whether we could do it or not is erroneous. That doesn't matter. The fact that it could be done is sort of what matters, and the hubcap has been blown off of it, so to speak. So now it's just it's all blown open. So I do feel like it's going to create a risky scenario that maybe wasn't there before, or if it was there before. No, okay, this is maybe a hot take. I bet this has been happening for a long time, though. So, like, how bad could it possibly be? Because the guy who blew it open, the guy who made the video about it, did it for, it seems like, non-nefarious reasons. He just made a video in his free time. He wanted to get the information out so people would know. It didn't seem like he was trying to scam by doing it. But then other people can then take that information and allegedly use it to scam. But my thought process is this. People have probably always known they could do this, and the people who are doing it aren't going to be broadcasting it by making YouTube videos about it. So like it's probably been going on under the radar, for a long time now by the bad actors who would be doing it, because they're not going to naturally make a YouTube video about it before someone eventually who had good intentions, like an engineer, like this guy, got the opportunity to make this video that pops off. So that means it's probably been around forever. And I've seen good things get pulled out of boxes. The right hollows, I've seen Charizards, I've seen, Gold Stars, all these big hits have been pulled out of vintage boxes. So even though there's money to be made on the table and it's allegedly most likely been around longer than this video's existed, it hasn't gotten to the whole market and really affected things in a bad way. So I want to go out on a limb and say that I think it's a little bit sensationalist that I'm making a big deal about this, and other YouTubers are making a big deal about it. And I think my official take on this is it's really not that big a deal at all. It's not going to change a single thing about how people deal in the hobby. It's just something that's very funny and an interesting situation that people cry fire when they see, because it's now being highlighted. But it's really one of those things that's going to be so hard and so few and far between that you're going to see because like it's so much easier just to reseal a pack. You know what I mean? If people are out here trying to scam people, the easiest way to do that is the least technological way, is just basically finding out how to crimp or reglue or somehow reseal a pack. And if you're buying from people where you think that's happening or where that is happening, it's just kind of not a good situation to begin with. No amount of CT scanners or not CT like technology is going to protect you from that. They're going to either scam you or not. So one thing goes back to buying from good sources, I guess. But it is a fun talking point. But anyway, what do you think about all that?
Well, I think another point too, because at first I was like, oh, will this affect vintage? But now that I'm thinking about it, to be honest, there are very few cases where even if you pull the best holo out of whatever vintage pack, like you're still losing money most of the time, unless not only you get the best holo, but then you get it in a PSA 10. And even sometimes you get the best holo in PSA 10 and you still break even or lose money. So being able to tell, like, oh, there's a Gengar in here, oh, there's a Snorlax in here, like, it's not really going to matter as much. Like, you can't monetize that information. And then when I think about modern, like, if you were going to do it with Evolving Skies, Moonbreon is so expensive and so difficult to pull, or I guess being difficult to pull is more the consideration. Like, you could buy 500 packs of Evolving Skies loose or whatever, scan them, and not find a single Moonbreon, and then you're up like you're down like however much money you paid per pack. So like, maybe I'm not thinking about it correctly, but it seems like it'd be fairly difficult to monetize. Like the only application
It's possible to monetize. Let me just say, it is very easy to monetize. I don't know, easy is the right word, but it's very possible.
I think like stuff like the Nagaba, like the EVs. Like, let's say you ordered, 1,000, 1,500 of the Unagaba packs, and then you scanned them all, and you kept all the Umbreons and sold all the other ones. The Umbreons are selling for a premium to what like just the sealed pack would go for. So like in that case, but then yeah, it seems like a lot of work, and I don't know, man. Like it seems kind of nuts to me, but I think boxes, like sealed boxes and provenance and all that kind of stuff, like the more trusted sellers are just going to continue to win, because a certain percentage of people will probably hear this news and be like, oh, like, extra paranoid. But dude, to be honest, there's people that still sell on eBay heavy packs of sets that can't be weighed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you remember that was a thing, but like people would be like heavy evolutions pack or like heavy this or whatever. And people don't know, like people fall for that stuff. Like people still don't know like which packs can be weighed, which packs can't be weighed. So the surface level collector, participator in the hobby or whatever probably will never find this information. And most of the people that are like concerned about this information probably aren't like buying stuff anyway. Like I don't. I could be missing something here, but like, yeah, it doesn't.
So I believe it has its applications could be used for nefarious means and purposes, but I don't think that its applications are going to be readily available and really pencilable enough to make it enough of an issue for the average collector. So I stand with you on that take. I do think there's a world where it does or could be an issue if bad actors do get a hold of one. I did do some lurking online to see after this how easy it would be for someone like just a normal person like me or you to go and buy a CT scanner that looked possibly like something I could put in the back of my truck and put in my garage, not like something you lay down and get scanned for like an MRI in it. But there's like smaller machines, and even though the person online said they got theirs for like 1,500, I saw the lowest online was like $5,000, $4,000 or $5,000, and I had no idea where like what I would do with that thing. So it would still the monetary requirement would still be quite steep just to kind of get started on a risky endeavor. That's probably something that you're going to be blazing a trail on. So do I see a world where there are people who are already doing this, who offer a service under the table, and you can send them your stuff or go to them and have them use it and pay them some amount of fee and then get that information in real time? Absolutely. I see that. Like, that's the most realistic for me scenario in this occurring, is that some person with a lot more money, a lot more time, a lot more care to do so is going to set up what we would call as a lab that's going to be considered by many in the hobby to be very sketchy. So it's going to be kept under the radar, but they're going to offer for a fee the opportunity, is how it's going to put, to authenticate or figure out what is in your sealed expensive item. And it's going to be sold as a way of authentication, as really the most safest way you can interact with these items. Because like you said, a lot of the money in these items isn't necessarily in opening the item, it's in the rarity of the item itself. And a lot of the problem in dealing with something like a sealed EX Deoxys box or a sealed first edition base set booster box is that that clear wrap on the first edition base set box doesn't have any sort of identifying, it doesn't have the logo on it. So you could technically use it to possibly verify expensive items too. So it's going to be used for nefarious purposes for sure. But it's going to be sold potentially as using for non-nefarious and authentication purposes. And I think that's the best case scenario. And I think it's one of the only avenues we could find possibly PSA ever starting to grade like sealed items or sealed boxes. If they got their hands on this technology, used it for the good of their authentication process, figuring out, yeah, we can't open the box up to authenticate it. So that's why we don't want to slab them. But if they can see inside without, then it could be used for good.
To your point about authentication, I don't know if it was a CT scanner specifically, but I know I bring this up every podcast, but on the Golden Show, they were selling a sealed iPhone, like the original iPhone, and they wanted to make sure it was real because apparently like fakes were a big issue, and so they knew how it was supposed to be sitting in the package, like where the phone was positioned, where the little headphones and the charging port and all that stuff were supposed to be positioned. So they put it under this machine and like scanned it to verify it. And then this other dude that was like working with them had some sealed iPhones that he had bought previously, and he wanted to make sure that they were real. And like, I guess 2 out of 3 were real, but one of them was fake, and they could like see inside the box. So like the authentication side of it is definitely cool. As far as like people using it for an affair, it just, again, like I'm not like Team Rocket baby, but like I'm not out here doing scammy like whatnotty whatever type stuff or whatever. So like maybe I'm not thinking the correct way, but like to me, just knee-jerk reaction, it seems so like the barrier to entry to monetize it is it's $5,000, and then like you would have to be doing such insane volume through the machine, like, and be doing just the specific right plays that makes it like it. I don't
So
know.
for that level of scamming, it makes no sense. But for the
That's what
level
I'm
of,
saying.
of
Like
like
would
you
have
have
to
a
be.
$20,000 booster box and you want to know
Yeah.
if it's real, and you have a friend with a CT scanner, are you willing to pay him $800, $900, $1,000 to make sure that after hearing all those online stories of fake boxes, your box has been sitting there is actually real? I mean, that makes a lot more sense, whether you're going to use that and open it up and try to get that pack out and then keep all the rest and scam, that's a whole nother thing. I think you hit the nail on the head with a lot of these items, at least the ones that people are worried about, the high-end vintage items. The money isn't necessarily in the grading of the individual cards and hitting the tins, because you already know that's not going to happen. If you open it up, you're going to lose money. The money's in the rarity and the scarcity of the sealed item.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a whole different situation there. So that's
Yeah.
why I think the side of the story that isn't being talked about or told is like it's all the sensationalism surrounding what could be going on, like in the background. But like you said, I don't think that it's really pencilable as much as people think it is. And it's like, if it is, it's like, come on, you gotta be buying from people with more trust than that. So
Yeah, and I mean it sucks too, because like with like super modern stuff, I mean, I don't know, maybe you could, but like I don't know if people are like, especially with Japanese, because Japanese like can be weighed, people aren't selling loose packs as much, but like there's products that I will buy and break down because they come with packs in them. Like there's this one that comes with like a promo card and it has like 6 Sun and Moon packs, and I have a listing, and like, because I think it comes with like Remix Bout is one of the sets that it comes in. And so like I'm selling loose packs of Remix Bout. And here's the thing, like I know that they're weighable, but even if I weighed it and I was like, oh, these are the heavy ones, these are the light ones, I could open it and hit like a GX that's worth like $1 or something. You know what I mean? So like it doesn't even make sense for me. So I am legitimately selling unweighed packs, like literally like unweighed packs, because it's like, even if I wanted to be like, hey, I'm gonna weigh it or what, like there's still no way for me to guarantee that I would make any money doing that. So I'm selling like unweighed packs, and it's nice because people will buy like 1 pack at a time, and like hopefully somebody's getting hits out of these out of some of these packs or whatever, because again, like they're just coming from product that I'm breaking down. But like the ability for a buyer to be able to trust a seller that it's just like, I'm buying something that's legitimately completely up 100% up to chance and not up to any sort of like manipulation or like, all these packs are light or whatever. It's like, the more and more that this sensationalist kind of stuff comes out, and it's not to say to like completely turn a blind eye to it or that people aren't scamming or whatever, but like the more and more this stuff comes out, a lot of people will be susceptible or become paranoid. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I can't trust anyone, or I can't buy and that sucks because it's not personally the way that I like to interact with a hobby, like constantly opening boxes, opening packs. But a majority of people, I would argue, engaging with the hobby, like enjoy doing that. Like that's what they like doing. And whether that's on like a live stream or just going to the store and buying packs for yourself or buying on eBay or whatever, like most of the hobby probably functions or runs off of ripping product and people enjoying ripping product and putting binders together or grading or whatever. And so like the not the sanctity, but like the integrity of that needs to be maintained. You know what I mean? So like every time one of these types of things comes up or someone comes out as a scammer or whatever, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's tough to deal with. Again, it's an important thing to consider and think about and realize that it's out there, but I don't think it should like stop people from being able to trust sellers and breakers that are doing the right thing. So
I think on the contrary, actually, it's going to potentially in the future going to be something you see on all sealed products that you're buying from really legitimate sources. It's going to say scanned/verified, and then it'll have like you'll have the unscanned, unverified jungle box, and then the scanned, verified jungle box. It's not going to say scanned, verified. This box has a Snorlax that's a PSA 10, and this one doesn't. Yeah. It's just going to say scanned and verified. And that's what I think the potential good of it could come. And that's a more realistic avenue of where I see the hobby going than like everything's ruined, nothing is sacred, sensationalism, you can't ever rip packs, you better be buying from a distributor because boy, if you're not, it's going to be CT scanned and you're just out of it luck, you're never going to get it. I think that is really good for drama channels to cover, but it's not great for the hobby and it's just not realistic. Not only is it not great for the hobby, it's not a realistic outcome for what is probably going to come from it.
Well, it is interesting to me too, because again, like the first time I had ever seen it was on like, or being used in a collectibles application was on the Golden Shell. But it is kind of nuts to me to think that like, even if this is a $5,000 piece of machinery, that stuff like the Logan Paul case was able, it's like, this is a $5,000 piece of machinery. You're spending over $1 million for this case. This technology is not like brand new technology.
Why need this shit in this hobby? It's not that this should exist. Like we should be worried about it. We need this bullshit.
I know it's interesting to me that like no one has used that. It's like, okay, even if you're buying one box for a quarter, like during the hype, what were they, like $250,000 or something like that, maybe even more. I'm not entirely sure.
You better be finding a motherfucker to CT
that's
scan
what I'm saying.
Like
how much can it be to pay somebody to operate one of these machines to scan one box? Like it can't be more than $500. And if you're spending $250,000,
that's a lot of money to just roll the dice on. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not that rich. I don't know who is.
Well, and if you're getting into business as a authenticate, like the whole PWCC thing where they like rip the shrink and actually get into like the shrink, having the shrink. I know like that is such, I understand that they're doing it for verification purposes, but people want it sealed in the shrink. So the fact that like a business would have it as a business model to be like, we're going to authenticate boxes, but this is the way we do it, and not be using this technology already is kind of nuts to me. Like that doesn't really make, so I would be surprised if it, and PWCC has a lot of money, and Fanatics, who now owns PWCC, has a lot of money. So it's really surprising to me that they're not doing this. I know people aren't happy at getting the shrink ripped off of their 6-figure box, even their 5-figure box, like even your 4-figure box. Like people
brutal that they have to do that and put their stupid stickers on it. Like, that's brutal.
I don't know, man. Like that is so dumb. So like if it's insane to me that people aren't already using this technology. Like if Golden has one just to protect themselves as like an auction house or whatever, it's crazy that people would be like, come to us for authentication, but not already be implementing this technology. So yeah, like maybe that is sort of like the light at the end of the tunnel, is it actually creates less scams because now it provides like another route for authentication. I don't know.
That's a more realistic opportunity. The people who are running these whatnot scams out of their grandma's basements and their backpacks and the backside of Targets, wherever they're running their whatnot streams from, they probably don't have the know-how, the spare capital, the business acumen, the planning or foresight to really set something like this up and make it worthwhile. So it's less of something to really worry about. It makes great headlines, right? It makes awesome headlines and great sensationalism. But really, the people who are going to benefit of it are going to be people who are going to be more boring about it, like you said, and really find the long term, the capabilities that it has in the hobby. And like we just hashed out, it's stupid that it doesn't exist already. So like it really has, I think, in my honest to Arceus opinion, I really think that it has better applications for the hobby after hashing it out with you, especially, than it does have negative applications.
Yeah, well, not to be all like positive poly, like everybody's a saint type thing, but again, we talked about like the barrier to entry for the scamming, how expensive it is, how much insane volume you would have to be doing to even make it make sense from like a nefarious perspective. Doing the right thing here, setting up a legitimate business to authenticate things, to do the right thing is the more profitable route, which unfortunately is usually not the case. It's like the whole road less traveled type deal. But in this case, doing the right thing, because here's the thing too. Let's say you're some massive whatnot streamer and you're ripping packs all the time. You have tons of loose packs and you start scanning all your packs and picking out the ones with hits. If your stream is never pulling hits because
No one's gonna buy from you.
no one's gonna buy from you. Like the
Yeah.
market will automatically, they'll be like, oh man, every time I go to ABC stream, like I don't ever get anything. I watch them open the boxes like on camera.
Now,
so
if you're the same streamer and you're going through such volume that you're buying so much and you want to authenticate your stuff and you have one of these to kind of check your packs once in a while, make sure there are hits in them, I can see that actually being worth having as it. And you're not a scammer. You're literally just, you're authenticating your stuff as it's coming in. And it makes sense to pay the $5,000 and learn how to use it so that when you buy these big loose boxes, you're like, yeah, just let me have it for 30 minutes, come back to my place, I'll scan it, and then we're good to do the deal. And you have that peace of mind. Like, there's so much that you can get out of it.
I think even outside of like big, like the big corporate businesses, I even think like a dude like Rusty or Nick or Dan or Z, like somebody that a lot of people know and are familiar with could do this and offer this as a service. Like seller ships box to me, I scan box and verify it, and then maybe they provide like pictures that come from the scanner as well. Like that's all included in a report. There's insurance factored in, blah blah blah, and then I ship product once verified to buy. Like that could be a whole business model for somebody.
If Veriswap needs to get on that shit. They really need to get themselves.
The Veriswap thing was bonkers. I actually listened to I think it was like the Pokey S&P podcast, and they were talking about that Veriswap situation, and I would be
get them a CT scanner like 2 months ago.
that was a nutso. That was a nutso situation. So, all right. Any last things to say on this, or do you want to pick the next topic?
Yeah, no, I think in the Pokemon hobby, I see this as being more of a good thing than a bad thing in the long term. I think there's definitely applications for it out there that like your knee-jerk reaction is like, oh shoot, how am I gonna get scammed? And that's a very, very healthy way to react. I think it's like a self-defense almost. You have to look out for yourself first and foremost, like how can I get hurt so it doesn't happen to you? But I think after that knee-jerk reaction happens and you kind of go through the actual like thinking it through and stuff, it really isn't something that you or I or most people are going to really have to worry about. And more than anything, it probably needs to be less sensationalized, better off if you just kind of let it cook a little and see where it's going to land. And I do think it'll be more good than bad when it all settles, when the dust settles.
Agreed.
All right, so I'll pick the next one here. I think this is going to be good for sort of a change of pace, but I want to talk a little bit about the Pokemon market and what's been going on in the Great Sword and Shield era retrace. And so I say that it's a retrace with that much enjoyment because we have been telling it that this is going to happen. I'm pretty sure every time like a card spikes, what comes up must come down. So it's really one of these cyclical things that if you're in the Pokemon market, or hell, if you're in any market for long enough, you're probably used to seeing it. But when something goes vroom, it's got to come down as well. And that's kind of what we're seeing happen across the board. Are you seeing anything other than that? Like, I feel like even Evolving Skies, booster boxes, sealed product is like taking a significant hit right now as far as like retraces. But what are you seeing as far as Japanese market's concerned?
Yeah, I saw I saw a video about Evolving Skies, but I think they said that it might have been like some sort of price manipulation, like the same seller listed boxes for really cheap, and then someone bought them. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. I remember checking after the video, and like ETBs were still the same price, and sealed packs was still the same price. So I think it might have just been some TCG player manipulation with the booster boxes, but I'm not entirely sure there. With Japanese, actually, like things have like slightly been recovering. The main thing to note is Greninja. It has gotten like, I don't know, like a 20 to 30% bump up in price on the Japanese side, because I think it's because of the strength of English. I don't necessarily think it's because like so many Japanese people. I just think it's like it's a really nice card. It's arguably
God
like
damn
better
Greninja, man.
quality, texture, whatever, and it's a cheaper version of the same card. So I think that's why people are kind of gravitating toward that. But like that card is bought out pretty much everywhere. It's up like $20 to $30. Like it's up about like 33% raw, and then graded in a 10, it's up like 20-25%. So that's been going good. And then, but this is more Scarlet and Violet. But just like chase cards in general that I've noticed, Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield, like chase cards are starting to get bought out, and starting to go up a little bit in price. And in some cases, like the PSA 10 premium between like raw near mint and PSA 10, the premium doesn't really make sense to grade those cards. And when I've seen that before, if it's a good card, eventually it works itself out, and the PSA 10 price will pop up a little bit. Um, to where there still is margin, because the last few copies get sold out at X price, and then like if no one's grading them because there's no premium, eventually supply runs out. So that's what I've been seeing, which is kind of cool that there's still strength there. And then people seem to slightly be more excited about I bet it's pretty easy to be more excited about like Stellar Miracle than, because like Night Wanderer was arguably like, no pun intended, like very like the darkest set that has come out. So R.I.P. to the English peeps with Shrouded Fable. It's a cool name, but I don't think it's gonna do very well, unfortunately. So yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Shrouded Fable is probably one of the darkest eras of this current Scarlet and Violet English time frame. It's so dark that I forgot it existed for a moment because I totally skipped it. I feel bad for anyone who had to take that from their distributor, or had to buy a certain amount of it and then tried to push it and had to like pretend like it was a fun set or a good set. And like all of the takes, like this set's actually not that bad, that I heard from people, it was like I cringed more and more on the inside every time I heard that take. So I feel bad for that, but I think we're getting through that. I think Stellar Miracle is going to be same, if not a little better. At least there's that rainbow mechanic, that rainbow border mechanic they're adding with the Terapagos, I guess. I think we're getting like a Bulbasaur and a Squirtle that's going to be in our possible, maybe. I'm not sure. We are getting those, but I don't know where they're coming out. So maybe the chat can help me out with that. But
I think I'm not entirely sure, but I think because Stellar Crown, because Shrouded Fable is Night Wanderer, so then Stellar Crown's got to be Stellar Miracle and then one other set. So we should technically get, I think, one more Japanese set before Stellar Crown comes out, if I'm not. So we should have like more leaks once we get information on the Japanese side of things. One thing I did see, there was like a Sylveon. I don't know if it was an EX or it was like a double rare or whatever, but it was with the rainbow border, and it kind of made me think, if they do that Eevee set, do you know that black and white promo? I don't know if it's English too, but the black and white promo where it's like all the Eeveelutions on the same card. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
that was like a trophy card. It was a trainer card, right?
Yeah. It's fairly expensive in a 10, but If they did something like a full art version of that, because they got the rainbow border now, and it was like Eevee and then all the different colors of the like that would be crazy. So I don't know. Like I'm kind of hopeful for the Eevee set with the rainbow stuff. I'm interested to get some of the cards in hand that have the rainbowy kind of border from Stellar Miracle and kind of see what they look like. So I'm interested. But back to Sword and Shield. What have you been seeing, and do you think that anything is like a buy the dip situation, or do you think that it's all just okay, it got too crazy, it's cooling off now, and it'll just kind of find its point to settle at for a while?
I don't think it's a buy the dip situation. I think it's one of those situations that if you were looking at it and at the big spike and you're like feeling like you were left behind and you lost your opportunity and you're feeling bad about that, the FOMO is hitting you hard, but you still didn't buy. I think then, of course, maybe now since it's come down a little more, sure, buy it because it seems like it's really important to you. But like if you're a normal or not normal, if you're like you're not really losing sleep over it, and if you're just like, oh, it spiked, I guess I kind of missed it, I'll get the next one. And if you're kind of now you're thinking like, oh, it's not going up until infinity, maybe it's going to keep going down. Sounds like it's not something you really need. I do think it's something that it might continue to come down, just like with Sword and Shield, or I mean, Sun and Moon alt arts the previous year, or the crazy Japanese boom when it went really crazy and then came down a little bit. I think that what happens is these things all tend to recover slowly, and you'll get more opportunities to kind of as the hype kind of fades off, because it's not like it's going to get hyped again. And so it's very, I think, tied to hype more than it's tied to fundamentals. So I think people can slow down. They don't have to worry as much about that crazy. It's never going to, things don't just continue going up forever as it seems when spikes are happening in these markets. I know it's hard to see that, but now that it's calmed down, I don't think people need to rush into it or anything. I do think, though, that there's some potential strength that's going to be coming in the market moving forward, not with what we have that like in the last few sets, but with the sets moving forward. So it ebbs and flows, right? And so I think that ebb is going to ebb away from Sword and Shield era and more towards the new Eevee set, the new Team Rocket set, the new gym leader set that they're potentially announcing, the new tag team set that's potentially coming out. Like we've heard rumors about.
Oh man, if they get some Giovanni tag team cards, dog, like
So
good
there's
night.
copyrights, and there's a product that was released today. There's been leaks about it that have been announced. It's Marnie's Morpeko and Grimmsnarl Eve EX. So there's a box that's Marnie's Morpeko and Grimmsnarl EX, and
I don't know about
Steven's
Grimmsnarl, but Morpeko's at least cute. So,
but Steven has a Beldum and Metagross tag team. Or it's not. It doesn't say tag team, but it says both of them. It's Steven's Beldum and Metagross EX.
Is he the leader of the Elite Four in Ruby and Sapphire, or is he one of the? He's one of the Elite.
He's one of the. I think the people that you battle in the Elite Four. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know which one. It might be Ruby Sapphire. I didn't play that one, so you know better than me. But yeah, I think he's one of the Elite Four.
I love those games. Those are my favorite. But
I think we have all that moving forward. I don't think people are going to have the money or the care or the hype to hype up sets that have been like this Greninja hype, like all this hype that's going on right now surrounding the modern or the previous modern stuff like Sword and Shield. People aren't going to be able to contain themselves when they bring in Gold Stars, because people forget Team Rocket Returns is where they introduced Gold Stars. So if they're doing a Team Rocket set at the end of this era, it would sort of be a good time to reintroduce Gold Stars. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I'm hopeful. I feel like Pokemon is kind of and like TCGs do this in general. Like I was the guy that works at the post office. He is like into Magic and stuff, and I'm not into Magic. I don't know anything about Magic, but like I watch Rudy, and so like I'll get different set names, and I guess there's a set coming out called like Bloomborough, and it's based on like Secret of Nim or like Redwall, like little Mouse Knight type stuff. And that's cool. Like I used to read a bunch of that stuff when I was a kid, and there seems to be like some decent hype around it, but like there was some kind of maybe weaker sets towards the beginning of summer from Magic. Like I think one was like Karlov Manor or something like that. So I feel like TCGs just kind of do this in general where they know summer maybe like people aren't as focused on collectibles and things like that, and they know like fall, back to school, winter time is when people have more focus towards like indoor hobbies, and that's when things are going to start cooking. Like this holiday season could be nuts. And I know now people are like, oh, you know, because it's so cheap or whatever, but like Shiny Treasure when it came out, Shiny Treasure was an expensive box when it first came out, and the chase cards were very expensive when that set first came out, and people were hyped about it. It was a holiday set. So I think this year, same thing. You got the Dragon set, you got the Eevee set, you got the Team Rocket set. Now we're getting like announcements for the tag team and the train. Like it sounds like they're cooking. Again, not super excited about Grimmsnarl, but yeah, I'm
idea
excited
of tag
for
team Pokemon, though,
Yeah, I definitely don't think that they've lost their touch at all. I just feel like the last few sets have been like, whatever. I always liked the Greninja. I will say that though. Before it became popular, I was always and like everybody thought I was dusted for buying the Greninja to Greg because I was like, I don't know, man. Like I think it's cool. I think people are gonna like it. But I don't think it's like they're gonna be the same level. People are like, oh, it's this generation's Moonbreon. I'm like, I don't know, dog. Like chill out about all that. Like that seems a little
simmer down there.
yeah, because like don't get me
Lance.
wrong, Greninja has some expensive cards, but most of them are like event cards or tournament sort of cards. Like there's a lot of really cool Greninja cards that are like vintage, but they're cheap. Whereas like Umbreon, almost every Umbreon card is expensive because of the popularity of the Pokemon. So I don't really think you can draw the comparison, even if the pull rate in English is so difficult for the. I can't. It's just not on the same tier as Umbreon, and you can't. It's not to say it's not a cool card. I can't see it. Like they're just in different leagues in my personal opinion. So that's I don't know.
Listen, I own an English Greninja that's at PSA right now that I'm pretty sure will 10, and I don't like the card. So I'm invested in it, and I still don't like the cards. I don't think it's going to be like the Moonbreon. I just think it's what people have right now to latch on to. I'm happy that it's doing as well as it is, though. I'm not complaining at all. So it's just one of those things that I like you, don't know if it's going to be the chase of the entire era, but Twilight Masquerade's a cool set, and that Greninja is pretty cool. So it is. I mean, it is what it is. So.
And when I look back too on, I don't know, like when I look back on like some of the Sun and Moon alt arts, like the Umbreon Darkrai is really nice. I never hear anybody talk about that. And even some of like the less popular like Sword and Shield ones, like the Aerodactyl is sick in hand. Like it looks really nice. Even the Beedrill, like I know Beedrill's not anybody's favorite Pokemon. Galarian Articuno, Galarian Moltres, and Zap, like they're nice cards. They really are, and I don't think that interest is ever going to change on them. Like I don't think it's like inorganic interest. Like I think that they're legitimately cool cards that people like. I just think that they got a little bit over their skis price wise and kind of need to chill out a little bit before maybe they see an organic movement up over time. But yeah,
people only have so much money to spend, man. Things can't go up forever.
Yeah, 100%. And one, it kind of seems too like maybe these booms happen when there isn't really something else to be hyper focused on. Like because Scarlet and Violet is kind of like lackluster right now. People are like, all right, well, I'm going to go buy all this other cool stuff in Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield because these cards are really nice. They seem cheap relative to what I would have to pay over here for stuff I don't like as much. So, yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's one of those things that we're gonna see Sword and Shield do very well over time. Even though it retraced, I think Sword and Shield is one of the best eras of our entire generation, and it's gonna go down in history for Pokemon at least as just being a very strong era. I think Scarlet and Violet will be very similar, but I don't think it's gonna have the strength or the reputation that Sword and Shield has just as an era, and there's just something special about that. So like my opinion is that Sword and Shield's a very strong era. And if you don't have your Sword and Shield, what you want from it as far as like product is concerned, it's kind of like you had lots of opportunity. I mean, unless you're just getting into it or something. And I don't think there's anything wrong with just feeling like you missed out and waiting for the next big thing, because I think the next big thing is just right around the corner. and it's going to be just as good, if not better, in some regards, and you'll have a better entry point to it that way. So I know we're an entertainment channel. That's what I always go on and say. But for those investor bros out there who are looking for like not a recommendation, but like, you know, an honest thought about sort of a product moving into the future, I do really like Sword and Shield. And, you know, it's one of those things that even though I love it, I don't have a ton of it because I sold a lot of it. I'm okay with that. I'm just going to look forward into the future, and maybe that's a good thing to think about.
You think I can get $15 a pack for Evolving Skies at the Front Row Card Show?
I've been selling them for $15 a pack for like 2 months now, Nick. So if you can't
okay,
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I have not sold Evolving Skies for less than $15 a pack in months. Like anyone who does, I let them, but people buy it at 15, and the people who sell it for less will get bought out by other people who are then going to take it and sell it for 15. So, or they're going to open it like DGens, which happens a lot too with Evolving Skies. That's the thing you should never do, is open Evolving Skies. If you're listening right now, you are listening, and you're thinking about opening Evolving Skies, just don't. Just
stop
right now. Don't do it.
I mean, I think I have like 150 packs, like loose packs, and then I have like the 19 ETBs. I think I'll bring the packs to the card show to sell, and I might bring like a couple ETBs if I can sell them. But I think I'd be more comfortable sitting on the ETB. I don't know though. Like it's a tough call, but I think if I could unload like a good amount of the loose packs or whatever for $15, I'd be pretty happy.
You won't unload them at $15, but you'll sell some at $15. There's a difference. You'll have to unload them
I'll take $15
at like $11 or $12, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like $12 seems pretty cheap to me.
That's what people sell them for when they're like dumping a bunch. And so when I get streamers or people coming over and they're like, "Hey, go to Evolving Skies," I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "How much you got your Evolving Skies at?" I'm like, $15. And they're like, "If I bought all of them, we do $12 each." I'm like, "No." And
12 is good, but it's also like where are you gonna go replace that? Like I'm not trying to buy a bunch.
That's what I'm saying. I don't sell them at $12, man. You don't have to sell it. You don't have to tell me. I say no to that, but that's what they all try to buy it for. So that means they're buying it at that from someone else. So
this might be like super super top signally, but maybe like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I sold because I got a bunch of English at Collecticon and sent it off to grade and got it back. But I got the Rayquaza VMAX in a PSA 10, and I love that card, first of all. But I think low list was like $550 at the time, and I set mine at like $589.99, and it sold. And I was like, okay, cool. But in my head, I was thinking like, this seems cheap. Like not even $600 for this Rayquaza, and the box is over $600. Like I don't know, man. Like I don't know if it's going to have any like short-term price movement after everything that's already happened or whatever, but I would not be surprised if by like Christmas that was like a $750 card. I could be dusted.
Like I don't under know. 600 is a little weird when it's like a $300 or $400 raw card.
Yeah, I can't remember what I paid for. I bought it in a lot with like a bunch of other alts from the same dude, but it was a good flip. But I was just thinking like, man, like yeah, I don't know. But again, like top signal, maybe like super dusted. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough to know with this stuff, but it did used to be the chase card before Umbreon was, so yeah.
So now that you're invested in Evolving Skies and we've seen a little retrace on some of the sealed product, are you feeling any pressure, or are you still feeling good about it?
No, like not. I mean, I'm up. Like I'm not trying to, but like I bought the 19 ETBs and 150.
No, you
packs.
still got it for. I mean, regardless of what you bought it for, now that it's kind of done that, how do you feel? That's what I mean.
I don't think that. I bought it like at a discount to where I could sell it for current market and still make money on it. But like now that I'm sitting on it, I'm just like I don't feel any pressure. If I was sitting on like a bunch of Scarlet and Violet in a reprint hit or something, I'd probably be like, even if the reprint only dropped case prices $20 because they were already cheap anyways, that would make me feel more like oof than Evolving Skies. Because I don't see I don't think more of it is coming anytime soon. And it's kind of like one of those like number go up makes number go up situations where like because it's so popular already, it goes up in value. Then when it goes up in value, people talk about it, which causes more people to fall. And it's just this like constant uh sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy type deal. So I'm not too worried about it, but I have in sealed investing. I investing like short-term speculating, I guess I should say, but on some sealed. I have the Evolving Skies, I have 151, and I have V Star, but I want to sell a good portion of my sealed position to invest in some other stuff. So that's more so why I'm like looking at it like I would sell it if I could get like $15 a pack for it. I like that. That's a pretty good margin. That's basically like doubling up. So if I could get $15 a pack for it all the way up, I'd be happy because there's other things I want to move into right now that I don't know. I feel like
here's a hot take. I think Evolving Skies might continue to cool to the point where it goes back down to where it's 400 to 500 a box, just without a reprint, without anything. And what would cause that would be a renewed interest in some new chase cards from the new Eevee set. There's going to be some crazy EX Eevees coming out of that set that are going to be chaseable. Very, very expensive in a tin. I already know because the quality of the print is not as good as it was in Sword and Shield. And I've seen PSA 10s from the Scarlet and Violet era far stronger than PSA 10s of the Sword and Shield era when it first came out as far as price appreciation. That's just a fact because it's harder to grade in this era. And so I think both the pressure of the new sets that people are going to be chasing and pouring their money into is going to go away from the Evolving Skies alternate fire that was put onto. Look, you have to understand the Umbreon from Evolving Skies, just the regular V, went from $80 to $180 to $200, like the split lickety split, faster than Wolverine could snicked his claws out. It was just doubled, and so it was a pretty egregious jump. I
agree
could see
with
it going down. And then when people have the Team Rocket set, there's only so much money to slosh around. That money that's in Modern, that's like invested, will have a better place to flow. I think you're gonna see some dumping. Like I honestly think I do.
I see what you're saying, but I don't know, man. Like I think. Because
is Evolving Skies a $600 box when Brilliant Stars is $180? Is it that much of a better set? It's not.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, and I think that
it's not.
Okay, so to your point about like Scarlet and Violet being more expensive out the gate with chase cards because of how hard it is to grade, I think that that's like the primary driving force. I do not think that in a year or 2 years anyone is going to look back and be like, oh yeah, man, Ting Lu and Wo Chen were awesome chase cards. No one cares about those Pokemon.
Those aren't the cards that are popping off. It's the Magikarp. It's the Raichu.
No, but like even those are. That's what I'm saying though. Is even the unpopular Pokemon are still up like 40, 50, 100% in PSA 10s because they're hard to grade. But like no one cares. It's okay. If Zacian and Zamazenta were tough to grade, they probably would have like done better, but because Sword and Shield had better print quality or what, like no one cares about Zacian and Zamazenta a year later, two years later. I don't think anyone is going to care about some of these Scarlet and Violet chase. I think that they're up in value because they're tough to grade. Like certain things, like Magikarp is a popular Pokemon. There is a lot of expensive Magikarps, non-holo Magikarps. Like there's certain Japanese non-holo Magikarps that are like commons and uncommons from certain sets that are just like low pop or whatever. And those are expensive. So like the Magikarp being expensive, especially when it's got the Gyarados in the background, that doesn't surprise me as much.
The Tyranitar, the Groudon, like Groudon's not a popular Pokemon, but it's really hard to grade, and it's it's like the Chase IR.
Well, and to be honest, I like Tyranitar and Groudon. Those cards,
I like them both. I don't like the T-Tar, but I love the Groudon.
The art's kind of mid. Subjectively, like the art's kind of like it's not that cool. Like it's
the Groudon though is awesome. Love that one.
The Magikarp is really cool, but like the Tyranitar is just like what it's just him standing there looking like a chonk. Same thing with Groudon. Like nothing's cool is happening or whatever. Like it's super mid to me. So Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I think Evolving Skies is just and EV Heroes has rebounded too. There was like the fake reprint rumor or whatever, and then like it didn't turn out to be true, and so those boxes are back. I just feel like it's just too good. I think it's gonna it's kind of like what's Dream League in English? What's it called? Cosmic Eclipse. Like Cosmic Eclipse will fluctuate, but over time, like it's just gonna keep on like gapping up because it's just like the set of the era. I don't know. That's how I feel. Like 151 is the set of Scarlet and Violet, at least up to now. Evolving Skies is already been decided. It's the set from Sword and Shield. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
I
I'm wrong.
agree
Maybe
with
we're
you on
making
that
a
it's the set, but I don't think it's $600 the set when the other sets are like 200 and there's so much of it out there. In my opinion, so the reason why Evolutions did what it did and jumped up and stayed up after it did its thing is because people didn't believe in it when it was doing its jump up, and they sold at every plateau. Okay, so hear me out. This is going to take a little leap of thought and a little bit of a retrace in how you think, probably, because it's going to sound like I'm saying one thing, but I'm saying the other, and it'll make sense at the end. So, in order for Evolving Skies to keep its price at being as high as it was, from going from like 300 to 600 in this market, in my opinion, it would have had to have had a lot of people who basically didn't believe in it and sold at every plateau that it made going up, to the point where, okay, I think this is really stupid and it shouldn't go up. I'm going to sell because of that. That's not how Evolving Skies has ever been. People believe in this set. They love this set. The people who have had this set, they buy it for investment. Yeah, they buy it to rip. Sure, they're degenerates, but they buy it for investment because they really believe in it. And at every plateau, they're not selling it because they're trying to dump it and get out. They really think it's going to keep going up. So they're holding it for dear life. And so in order for it to keep that price memory, and that they would have had to sell every plateau to then buy back in. These people aren't going to buy back in. They're just going to keep their product and have it go up. So it's going to, in my opinion, slowly go back down because there's not that price memory plateau at every level. It just skyrocketed overnight and nobody didn't believe in it. The whole time everyone believed in it. So I think that when they get something to believe in, a new Scarlet and Violet era banger set, that's the Evolving sets. I mean, we had 151, that was good, but I do think there's still more to be had. I do think there's a slight amount of retrace. I'm not saying it's going to crash down. I don't think it'll go below 400, but I do see a world where it could go back down to 500, and maybe, that would be where it sits instead of 600 or even 450. Like these, a lot of the alt arts that were carrying it doubled and tripled in price. And I think those could probably cool off a little bit too. Maybe that's a hot take, though. I don't know.
I'm looking at it on TCG Player right now. It looks like just yesterday, okay, so they're not actually unopened. They come with pictures, and what they are is just like 36 sealed packs. But like lots of 36 packs are selling for 485, and then the other sale was 468 basically. So that's for just 36 loose packs worth is still selling. So I don't know. And then like let me see like what the first actual listing for a box is. It looks like the cheapest one listed that isn't from a 0% feedback seller is $680. So, and then the packs are pretty steady. Umbreon is down a little bit. Like it looked like it peaked at 960 and now it's at like 847.
And if people stop opening it, then it's a big problem for that sealed product. It really needs to keep on getting opened. And in order to be opened, you have to be able to make sense to break it in your head. So if you buy a sealed box at $600 as a streamer to break on your stream, how much per pack do you have to sell it for to make
But
that make sense?
There's so many. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
true. I'm saying for the sealed to move up, theoretically, you have to open some, right? It's that it can't be, because now it's at such a point, it's like an investment that you only open loose packs that you get from ultra premium collections. But eventually, those loose packs from ultra premium collections allegedly will dry up.
Yeah, I think that probably in the short term, like packs have more chance at moving than the box because of that point you make. Like, but I think people are going to continue ripping it in general, just because the other consideration, it's as far as I know, just from looking at TCG player prices, like it's the set that's got the most like the highest volume of expensive chase cards in one set by far. Like there's tons of cards in it that are over like $200. So even opening a pack for $20 or $25 to have a potential, and then the highest potential is pulling like an $850 card, which then is over $1,000 in a PSA 10. No other Sword and Shield product offers that same kind of chase, and I feel like that's going to keep people ripping. Like there isn't any other, like to your point, like okay, well this is $600, Brilliant Stars is 180. Like what's the most expensive card in Brilliant Stars? The Charizard Altar, and like what it like that's pretty much it, right? And I don't know what that's at. And in Japanese, those are like $130, $140 in a 10, whereas your only other option for the Moonbryon and Rayquaza in Japanese, those are dummy expensive. Like Rayquaza is $1,300 ish in a PSA 10, and Moonbryon is right around the same, like $1,300 to $1,500 in a PSA 10. So there's no like cheaper alternative. So I don't know. Like I see what you're saying about the boxes though. Like it's tough as a streamer if you're buying a box for $600, you're in it. Like
You have to sell it sealed. That's the only way you can hope to make money, is if you sell
like
it sealed for someone for more. And in my world, in my opinion, it feels far more likely, because of the price of where the packs are at and how much supply is and how many people have ETBs and loose packs and all these things. It makes more sense to me, especially with new sets coming out on the horizon, where are going to be new flashy, hot alt arts to chase, new EVs to chase, maybe a new Moonbryon to chase, a new evolution that people love, maybe a new Gold Star. All these things make me feel like it has more room to retrace than it has to keep going up to infinity. That's my. I don't think it's going to see $1,000 boxes for a long time for a box. Like there was a part earlier this year where the whole $1,000 box thing was like, oh yeah, it's going to happen. Nowhere. Everyone was like, oh yeah, we're going to eventually see $1,000 evolving rice boxes this year. Blah, 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 blah. But like, okay, I'm waiting. I'm fucking waiting here, investors.
the ETBs have been growing pretty steadily too, and that's surprising because I think you only get 8 packs. There's no promo card, but I think the reason people are buying them is because they display good. Like they're arguably like some of the cooler ETBs out there. The art on the side of them is pretty sweet, but I don't know, man. Now you're freaking me out. Maybe I should dump my Evolving Sky.
Don't
I
let
don't know.
me freak you or anyone else watching out. These are the speculations of a madman. I have not been keeping track of this week's market. I just got married, for God's sake. Like I have other things on the mind, and then I damn near like blew a gasket when I heard about the One Piece reprint. I was like, oh my lord, here we go, table flip Bandai, but apparently it was a psych out. So okay, let's tie a little bow on this topic and go on to the Bandai topic here.
Yeah, so we're moving into the Bandai shenanigans.
Yeah. So before I take a victory lap here, I want to go out on a limb and say that when we initially planned to do this podcast and talk about the Bandai thing, it was on the heels of the reprint announcement for this new set that came out, whatever the brand new reprint set is. And it was false information. From what I gathered, what I heard about it was completely wrong. I heard that every single alt art and manga, pretty much all the greatest hits that everyone wanted from all the other sets, were getting some sort of a reprint in this set. And I have been informed that has been proved to be false. I don't know how false it is or what exactly the reality of the situation is. I don't think really anyone knows because it's a very new set and people are still discovering pull rates. But I think there was some reprints and there was some retracement that happened. And I fucking told y'all so that Bandai would do this shit. I'm sorry. Bandai told y'all so. Okay, so anyway, now that I got that out of my system, what are you seeing on the charts here for what happened with what's going on with One Piece? I think it's recovered a little bit. So let's just say I think I shouldn't be too happy, honestly.
Let me hold on. Let me
We have like One Piece, Romance Dawn that we pulled
yeah,
up,
let
and
me
some other
pull these.
indicators that sometimes you can look at when you're looking at some of these things. It's a very volatile market. So any TCG market is always volatile, and the most volatile of any TCG market is always going to be run by the Bandai company because they have no fucking idea what they're doing. Excuse me. I just watched Deadpool and Wolverine. There was a lot of F-bombs dropped. I'm in a very particular mood right now. I apologize again to any younger people. You shouldn't be watching this probably. But I do think that
friendly.
Bandai is the most predictable of any game company when it comes to making these TCGs. They make a great run the first 5, 6, 7 sets. Then they reprint to hell. They nuke their game because something gets overpowered because they don't know how to balance their TCGs. And so then they have to reset everything because the tournaments stop working or whatever. And it seems to be that something of the sort is happening. There's some sort of a reprint that caused some scuffle. I still hold to it though, that even though this was a fake out, and apparently everything is not lost in One Piece, and now people are saying it's a good entry point, I still think that Bandai is going to continue Bandaiing, and the confidence people have in them has been shown that since it was so easily shook by this false news in one weekend, that it feels like if there's that little confidence in something, it might be a good idea to proceed with caution.
Okay, so I pulled up. So I'm pretty sure this was one of the ones that got reprinted. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this was one of the cards. Can you see this TCG player page?
Okay, yeah, the Zoro right there, yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen that
And
one. Yeah.
so you can see on like the 27th, it was up at like 938, and then it's just kind of like eating doo doo. Now it's down at like 842. It's not like cut in half or anything like that, but yeah, down like 10% on that card. But the sealed product, like kind of over the past month, down, what is that, 31.4% basically. So like that's a pretty steep drop off. And this is the set that the Zoro comes in, and then this is Paramount War. So for whatever reason, that like kind of peaked around the 22nd, and then that had like a really steep drop off too, lost around like $1,000 in value, so like almost 30%. And then Romance Dawn, this is a pretty ugly chart. Like this, I mean, 5,500 for a case is wild, but like that, I mean, it's just oof. down to 3,000. And again, like this might be reprints from the boxes being reprinted, not necessarily the set. But the thing that's interesting about the set is that they just took 4 chase cards and were like, all right, like we'll just reprint them. And that seems weird. And I know people are going to be like, oh, okay, well, how many times have they reprinted like base set Charizard or Blue Eyes or whatever? But like the difference is I would argue at least that they're more established. Like I know there was like base set 2 and Legendary Collection and things like that, but I think One Piece needs to be more established before they just pick 4 or 5 chase cards and be like, we're going to make it's called like PRB01. I don't know what the name of it. It's just called like the best.
I don't think they need to do anything differently. They do the exact same thing every single time. They're the most consistent shitty TCG game makers of all. Like you can count on them to literally do this exact thing. They don't care about your investments. They do not view your boxes in your closet as their main purpose is to protect that. They don't care about all of that. They want you to buy more boxes and throw them in your closet, and they want you to keep doing that. But that's the long and short of it. So yeah,
well, it's interesting too because so I don't know about any. I might be missing some other games, but I'm pretty sure like the whole Bandai hate and just like cycle has come from like Digimon and Dragon Ball Super. But in like the two that like right after the GFC, like the like 2009, 2010, Bandai did the Naruto CCG, and then they did a Dragon Ball CCG, and they only did like 6 or 7 sets of the Dragon Ball one. So I'm not sure if that just died or what, but they definitely didn't overprint it because that product is super scarce and tough to find. But the Naruto one apparently was super popular and only got canceled because they had issues like renewing the IP rights or something like that. So I don't know. if it's like new leadership at Bandai or if there's other games that they've killed in the past that I'm not familiar with. But Super and Digimon, I know, were two of the biggest offenders that they just kind of like ruined, and people weren't super excited about, which sucks because I like the alternative stuff a lot. Like I know you watch a lot of anime and it sucks, and it's like you want to see this stuff be successful. Like Union Arena, they did Jujutsu Kaisen recently, and then they also just came out with Black Clover, which is another anime that I really like. Like they have a Black Clover set, and I'm sure for a while when that comes out in English, some of the popular animes are going to do okay. Some of the chase cards are going to do okay. But unfortunately, I think it's going to take the same path that Super, and now it kind of seems like One Piece. Like I don't think One Piece is dying or anything like that, but this is kind of like
it will. Give
yeah,
it time.
Don't
give people hope. Don't give anyone listening to this who has One Piece in their closet any hope right now, because they have a ticking time bomb in that closet. I said 2 podcasts ago or 3 podcasts ago, I don't know how long, it would be 4 sets. 4 sets. We've gone through
you got
one
3
of those.
more. You got 3 more. 3 more.
You have 3 more. And I actually think I said recently, I actually think it's only 2 more before true interest falls off. I said 3 to give myself a little safety net. I think I was being a little too cautious. So don't give any of you, I don't want anyone to think that they're safe. If you're invested in a TCG that just came out within a year, and if you consider it an investment, by no means are you playing in a safe environment for that investment. Let's dispel that right away. Now, if it's Pokemon, there's an argument to be had because there's a history behind it. That's not going to disappear in a year. There's a very real less than 0 possibility that any trading card game that's been around for less than 3 years even would just literally disappear on 1 or 2 sets that go bad. Look at MetaZoo. It had a great set. It had War that sold really well, and people generally really liked it. And not 2 sets go by, and they're sending bankruptcy letters to anyone that they had pre-orders out that they couldn't get money to. So, like, I say this not to make you feel bad, but you should definitely, if it makes you feel any particular way, me saying this makes you feel a particular way in a negative way, you're probably a little bit too invested. And you're probably a little bit too risk adverse, and that's probably a hard truth you don't want to hear.
Oh, so, you're not risk. You're not risk.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're not risking. You're taking too many risks with your investment. I'm sorry.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like you can have your biases and you can have your interests, but like when that starts making you feel emotional about, like, because I mean, huge DBZ fan. I tried when Fusion World came out, which is like the newest iteration of Dragon Ball Super. I thought the cards looked cool. The layout is kind of like more like One Piece. At the time, One Piece was super popular or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. I like the arts a lot. There was like a Trunks chase card, Vegeta, Goku, blah blah blah. So I bought a good amount of the chase cards, and like, yeah, it didn't do that great, and like it just is what it is. I would like it to be like really popular and sell a lot and all that sort of stuff, but that's just not the case. So like I'm not going to get emotional and defensive about it. Like, it is what it is. I like Dragon Ball Z, but unfortunately, like the current modern Dragon Ball Z stuff doesn't really do all that great. And yeah, it just kind of is what it is. But it's unfortunate with the Bandai stuff because, again, I like so many of these IPs. I'd like to see them be strong. I'd like to see there be other like alternatives to Pokemon and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be one of those things where like 5 years from now, there's going to be like all these dead Bandai games. I'm going to go back and be like, ooh, like let me look at the chase cards and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. Like it would be fun. High hopes for Union Arena, at least like the first few sets before they absolutely nuke it. I do want to grade some like Satoru Gojos, and like I want to grade these popular anime characters because it's stuff that I legitimately like. It's a nice break from Pokemon and stuff like that. But long term, it's yeah, man, it's just a little bit risky. I feel like the alternative games aren't safe while they're alive. They're almost like safer when they're dead. You know what I mean? Like when they're dead, it's like, oh, this is actually maybe investable now. But when they're like still going and Yeah, I don't know, man.
There's just so many moving parts with these things, and that's what makes them so fun. If it was super safe, and if we knew what we were getting into, and we didn't get excited and get emotional about it, it wouldn't be fun. We wouldn't be doing this in our free time. It would just be something we did as a chore, you know? So it is one of the reasons why I think that in our space, people like to gamble a little bit and have a little speculation here and there. It's easier to pretend like it's not a gamble or speculation. I just like to be that person to remind you once in a while that it's definitely speculative and it's definitely not safe, and it's a lot of fun. It's a hell of a lot of fun. So it's a great ride. So
It is really, really quick. Ernie says, retro thoughts on the old dude who wouldn't auction his SGC Wagner to Golden and told him to kick rocks. Made me extremely bullish. Him and then the chick that was vending a Comic-Con or whatever and would not sell like a $5 or $6 million. I think he offered her like $5 or $6 million for an Action Comics #1, which is like first appearance of Superman. And she turned it down. He offered her $5 or $6 million and 2 years, I think, worth of free auctions through Golden. So basically, she would net 120% of Hammer. So she would get Hammer price plus the buyer's premium for 2 years. And if you're like a high profile comic seller and stuff like that, that's a lot of money. So yeah, I thought it was funny though, because like it was so cheesy, dog. Like he brings the money in and he's like, this is direct from the Federal Reserve or something like that, and the money is all like sealed like a brick of Coke or something. It's like sealed in the plastic or whatever, and it's got like the wrapping, like it's like fresh from the mint or something like that. And they interview the guy after. So Ken does all this, like brings a security guard just to bring the wrap of, which is it's so
like,
cheesy.
nah.
Like, first of all, it's so cheesy, but then it's also like no deal like this is going down for like it anyways. But he goes he talks to the camera and he's like, yeah, Ken thought he was just gonna come in here and razzle dazzle me with all the money or whatever, and he just, oh man, it was so funny. But yeah, dog, like I don't know, like it makes me very bullish, and I kind of feel that way about like just Evolving Skies and nice stuff too. Like I think that the people that have a lot of these items have made so much money and have seen so much capital appreciation in their collectibles. They don't need to sell the nice stuff. They know what nice stuff is. They know what's in demand. They're not, yeah, they're just like, why would I, you know what I mean? Like I don't think anybody right now is feeling like the floor is gonna fall out from under them or anything with what they're holding, and that's a good place to be. And I think it just shows that
putting that rich dude that you're talking about on the same level as like Evolving Skies closet collectors.
I'm not trying to put him on the same.
Bro. That's wild take. I disagree with that take altogether.
I'm not trying to put him on the same level.
They will sell far more readily than that dude will. That dude's not going to eat ramen in this world. But those guys are probably eating ramen thinking that's going to help them get more.
I guess the parallel is just like when people offer, like people make you offers on eBay and they try to like lowball you on stuff you know is going to sell for like market anyways. Like people have sent me, I haven't taken an offer on anything in so long. I have like, and you know how eBay, like after there's people that you like watch the listing that you can send, like I haven't sent offers really aggressively in so long because it's just like, why? Like it's gonna sell. Like again, the Rayquaza low list was $550 and I was at $590. It's still sold in under a week. So like, what are you doing out here? Like accepting? I just feel like good stuff is moving right now, that there's no reason to sell good stuff at whatever level you are, whether you're Honus Wagner level or you're Evolving Skies booster box level. Like I don't think that there is a good reason. And again, like the only reason that I would sell any of the sealed I have, whether it's the Evolving Skies, the V-Star, or the 151, is because I want to put it into some other dust that I've been looking at for a while. So, and it's yeah. So anyways, that's where I'm at with that.
It's always good to be in a position where you don't ever have to sell. So the best thing I can tell you about selling is just to never do it, right? Because if you never sell or if you never have to sell, that's the best position to be in. but that's not the reality.
Well,
And
I don't
so
know about never sell. Like you want to keep some percentage of money like constantly churning and burning, because that's how you're gonna make your best like compounding percentages. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's fun to see what happens, but it's also like usually the stuff that is safest. It's the same thing as regular investing in like financial markets. It's not sexy. You know what I mean? Like the meme coin, I guess, comparison to Pokemon or whatever. Like it's a lot more risky. It's just like buy the best set, sit on it, wait. It's not a sexy process. It's not anything crazy, but it's interesting to see where it goes. V-Star and 151 are up a good chunk. Like they're up like 20 to 30% over the past couple of weeks. So, yeah, man.
I see if we get good sets, and this is the last I'll say on it. I think if we do get the good sets that I think we have coming down the pipeline, I think it's going to both reinvigorate the modern, not that it needed reinvigorating, but it's going to put a new fire under the ultra modern stuff that's coming out. But at the same time, I think it may, or most likely, still sap a little bit away from the stuff that's on the outskirts of that modern, that's still ultra modern, but it's not quite as ultra modern. So I think that thing that Dan always says, the moderner the betterer, or I think it's Dan that says that all the time, the more moderner the more betterer is basically the thing. I think agreed that's going to be true to the nth degree when it comes to these newer sets, when we actually get good sets, because it's kind of like that right now, but it's not. It's like it's not actually the most modern stuff that's the best. It's like the set before. It's like Twilight Masquerade. You don't want Shrouded Fable, because Shrouded Fable is the real modernist.
I also think that people are slightly underestimating how well even the kind of like not like less popular, but like, okay, for instance, I got a bunch of the Carmine back, like the Japanese version. In Japanese, it's Mask of Change. English, it's whatever it is in English, Twilight Masquerade or whatever. And I don't think very many other people bought it, because when I listed it, it was me and every single other seller that had PSA 10s were all Japanese. There wasn't a single other like English seller. And I was buying those cards for like $85 and selling them for like $220. And so like there's no competition out there. And I'm just like I don't know if everybody was just hyper focused on the Greninja or whatever, but I'm like, yo, like where is all the competition for this card? And even now, like after it's been a while, I think it's only down to like 200 or something. So the margin on that is massive. And I think people didn't maybe buy it because they just were like, oh, the set sucks. I'm not going to buy this card. And so even like the less popular stuff, like to be completely honest, I bought the Terapagos. I could be completely dusted, but I think it's like, I think people are more positive than people actually think. And I think that the market is a little bit stronger than people actually think. I bet that those will print. I think that people are negative out the gate. We'll see what happens. So I don't know, man. Like I think that even stuff that people aren't talking, Nagaba Pikachus are on the uptick again. The Umbreon, the 25th anniversary Umbreon Gold Star, that's on the uptick in Japan. So like even stuff that people aren't like 100% focused on is still seeing some strength. I don't know, man. Bullish in general. We're kind of like going in circles here, but okay. What was our last?
So
okay,
that's a nice little topic, a nice way to finish that topic up. Be careful with One Piece, basically, is all we're saying, and roast me in the comments. Anyway, PSA grades what now, Nick? Those Burger King, you can send in your old Burger King wrappers, and they'll grade the plastic wrapper. What's going on? So I heard that you could literally grade anything at PSA these days. Like they're taking comic books, they're taking magazines, they're taking old Burger King toys. No, but in reality, those are the three big new things that PSA just announced, that they are now grading. Comics, that's the big one. I don't really like the labels that they're doing on the comics. It's like their same PSA label, just really small and with a really big open. That's a whole nother thing. Grading magazines, and then they're also grading these little buggers. Where are they? Come here. Where is it? If I can reach it without breaking it. These little guys. these little guys right here. And so now PSA is going to start grading your 23 karat old little Burger King Toysy Woisies or whatever they are, you know?
It's
So what do you
funny,
think
dude,
about
'cause
all that, Nick? And what do you think about
I,
that cat?
I actually went. Well, the first thing I did was I sent it to PK because I was like, oh, this is like right up his alley. I'm sure he had already seen it because he's Mister Tapped in with all the different accounts or whatever. But I actually hopped on eBay and was looking at like the Charizard and the Mewtwo, and I was like, what do these go for? And they actually go, I think raw and like decent condition, they're like $40. I don't know like what PSA is going to be looking for. I don't know like how good a condition buying those is in. So I probably won't unless I like see them in person and I can pre-grade them. Like I probably personally also like how are you shipping those? Like are you putting that in a penny sleeve and then in between two pieces of cardboard or like what like how are you shipping that? But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'll be making that play.
You were
And
in the 90s. You didn't grow up with those, did you? You weren't like that was a
oh
little
no, I
bit past your
remember them.
time.
I don't have any of them. I don't have so like
Because
it's
they're
not
in
like I
their own individual little plastic containers. Each one is pristine. No matter, even if no one took them
yeah,
out
but
of
like
the little
over time
plastic.
is like but were they produced well? Like is the paint shipping? Like that's
It is
and like
yet
the
to be
surface.
seen what will happen with those as far as price consideration, but I just know that those things are hilarious. I know that there are people, shout out PK, like you said, that are going to go absolutely nuts with that. And yeah, I mean, I think, do you have any intention of buying a few to grade to see if you can be like first to market on that?
If I could see him in person, like if I go to a card show and I see those or whatever, like maybe I'll pick a couple up because like there's no question if you grade the Charizard in a 10, like you're gonna make money, or the Mewtwo in a 10, or one of the Ultra Pot, like you're gonna make money. Like some Dust Lord out there is gonna want it enough that it's gonna sell for some crazy amount. Hobby is gonna hobby. It is what it is. I'm actually more excited about the comic. I agree with you on the label. I'm like, whatever. But I actually have like I might grade that Deadpool comic with PSA. That's just like PC. I've had that since I was a kid, but I might grade that with PC, or with PSA. But I've had like a good sized comic collection. I've got like a good chunk of signatures in it, and I think like some decent issues. But I've been meaning to like sort of sort through it and monetize it for a while now. So, and then I have like some Vogue magazines I've wanted to get graded with like different famous artists that have done the cover, and then I have a couple. Sealed trainer magazines. So I actually might wait. I was going to send them all to CGC, but I might wait until PSA opens magazine grading because I have the Charizard one and I have the Espeon one. And I feel like the first to market graded Charizard trainers magazine in a PSA case would cook. So I'll probably keep those for that and then try to grade some comics through PSA. And it's cool that they're offering pressing as well. It seems like they're really just trying to like push CGC out of the market as much as they can or absorb as much market share as they can. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think it'll do good. I think that because of the name that they have already established, like I don't think it's going to take a while for people. And like everybody kind of knew it was happening, right? Because like the magazines were coming out and there was so much focus on that. And they were like doing so much work with the numbered magazines and stuff like that. Like it was kind of obvious that that was what they were moving towards. But I would say that's probably what I'm most excited about. And comic books has been something that I've been meaning to like learn more about and get a little bit more into over time. I listen to a lot of like comic book like market content and stuff like that, and it's really interesting to me. Um, Maybe not as sexy as TCG market, but like that's where comic books is definitely where a lot of the whales hang out, and there's some big money in comics. So definitely an interesting market for sure. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the whole comic thing is interesting, though I am a little bit disappointed about the execution of it, just a little bit more than I should be, probably. I don't think I would have ever graded comic books in general because it's not my market. It's I always had that option with CGC, which is the more known and normal, and like that's if I was gonna grade comics, probably who I'd go with. Just like if I was gonna do PSA grading or grading of like Pokemon cards, which I would go with PSA because it's the traditional, most regular. That's what everyone knows. It's probably the easiest to sell. I don't like the label at all, but aside from the label, I
They
really
said it was um what's the word? Like it's a sample. It's not their
it's not
final.
finalized. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
it's not
give
their
them a little
final.
slack for
Yeah.
that. But I really also don't like that they used the comic book grading scale and didn't just adopt their own 1 through 10 scale. Because if I could get 10s on comic books and not have to settle with a 9.6 or
Yeah, but
9.8.
that's the industry state. It's kind of like with coins. Like it's the same thing with coins. Like they don't do like a 1 through 10, like CGC. But here's the thing though. So like CGC recently, because you know how people were pissed off that they were like, okay, we're transferring the new label and you can bump your 9.5s to 10s and your 10s to this or what. So they actually did that on the comic book side of things too. And they were saying that they were going to, it was either that they were going to bump 9.8s to 9.9s or they were going to bump 9.9s up to 10s. But that pissed a lot of comic book collectors off because 10, like the only time you should be getting a 9.9 or a 10 on a comic book is like ultra modern, fresh from the press, like perfect, pristine condition comic book. Like vintage comic books are not supposed to 9.9 or 10. Same thing with vintage magazines. So it pissed a lot of collectors off because they're like, it was the same thing as the card stuff. It was like, well, we don't value your higher grades anymore because now you're saying that stuff that you already graded at these lower grades can be bumped up to a higher grade. And with comics, dude, I mean, like with high end comics, like the difference between like a 3 and a 3.5 could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So bumping something up from like a 9.9 to a 10 or a 9.8 to a 9, like that's huge. And when you get past 9.8, the rarity is so exponentially more difficult to which it's not like black label level. It's way past black label level as far as like difficulty goes. So PSA is coming in fresh. So if they establish grading standards that people feel comfortable with and don't do the same sort of thing CGC did, where they kind of like backed off after a while and like, oh, well, let's make grading easier now to give people bigger numbers. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it'll be cool. I think it'll make sense. I just hope that the one thing too is there's certain things that neither of the companies are great. Like even Beckett is not grading, and Beckett's doing the manga and stuff. But like no one grades Shonen Jumps right now, which seems nuts to me. No one's grading like certain sizes of strategy guides. Like they only grade like the skinny ones. They don't grade like the chunkier ones. There's a lot of books, sealed magazines, that they're not grading. So I hope that they would expand into other stuff, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, and I hope the case ends up looking good because, like, when I look at the manga, the Beckett stuff, there's so much space around the book. Like, there's so much plastic it takes away from, and I hate that. So I hope it's like, I hope it's tight. Like this, the CGC slab for comics is nice. So I hope PSA does the same with their comic book slab. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But you're never into comic books or had any interest in comics or anything like that?
I love the Marvel, DC. I love comic book universes, but I've never read or enjoyed. I like cartoons of the comics that once they're adapted. I like the stories from the comics. I like movies made out of the comics, but I don't like reading the graphic novels or comics or like I've never liked picture books. And like it's just one of those things that I recognize that there's such adult, mature content, but I can't get past just the like short frames, the flipping the page. It just never was something that I connected with as the way that I interacted with the medium. I was always surrounded with it though, being in like game stores and stuff. Usually the game stores I was at, they would have comic books on the wall. They'd be selling comic books, and I was very exposed to it. But yeah, as far as grading comic books, it does feel like the covers are beautiful, so it makes sense to grade them. But like other books and like grading like other things that like you want what's inside the content a little bit more, even though I do recognize people like the content of the comic books too, but the covers are unique, and having them in good condition does mean something. I'm not as into grading random things as I am to like grading things that make sense to grade, like for the art and display. Like I'm into authentication for the sake of like sealed packs, but I'm not into pack grading. You know, there's that's what, and like if it was like if I could grade a cardboard box, I wouldn't, but you know, it wouldn't make sense. So, but if it would,
Yeah,
some
I
people
see what
would though, if they could, you know, just to say it was like, you know, put a nice piece of plastic around it, grade how nice the corners are, and like you know what's inside of it, so it's just graded like nicer than the other ones. That's not me though. I'm not about that life.
The other thing I will say too that that PSA might have, so what it sounds like is that they are going to do auto authentication, and with CGC the way it works, like there is yellow label. So like if you have an auto comic book, CGC has to actually witness the autograph in order to give it the yellow label and in order to like authenticate the autograph. So that kind of provides like a barrier to entry, because like a lot of like most signed books were not witnessed by CGC, right? So if PSA already has whatever proprietary technology, whatever they're using to, because they'll authenticate autographs on sports memorabilia, on baseballs and helmets and bats and jerseys and all sorts of stuff that they don't grade, they'll still authenticate. So with the comic book side of things, that provides like a lot of people something that they can't get with CGC, which is like the auto authentication without them actually physically witnessing the autograph taking place. You can still get your book graded and get your auto graded and authenticated, and not have to deal with the issues that CGC will provide you. So I think that's because like that Deadpool book is signed by like two different people and it's numbered and stuff like that, and but it wasn't witnessed by CGC. And again, like none of the books that I have that are signed are witnessed by CGC. So it would just make more sense for me to send those into PSA. But I don't know, man. Like I'm excited, and I don't think that they would be making that as a move if they didn't think that there was like an addressable market there, or if they didn't think that it was like, to me, it makes more sense for PSA to be grading comic books than Funko Pops. Like, how many people realistically are still grading Funko Pops? Like, that can't be a large volume of PSA's revenue, right? Like, Funko Pops, as far as I know, have kind of like fallen off a cliff in popularity and value. So, get rid of the Funko Pops and do the comic books, in my opinion. But yeah, what do you think?
Honestly, I just see them adding more and more to the repertoire. It was so funny when they announced those gold Burger King toys, because the guy that I partner with at these local shows that I'm at most of the time, he always has those little gold figures up on his thing to sell. And not last weekend, right before the announcement, he sold a whole set of them, basically. And people
Now
like
you
them.
gotta buy him out. You gotta buy him out before he finds out.
Oh, he was the first person I text when I saw that. I sent him the message with PSA. He's like, he was so ready. He's
Yeah,
like, oh
Birdman
man. He
and
goes,
Rug.
brother, I'm gonna send all my sealed ones into PSA now because they're all pristine, still in the bags and everything. I was like, I knew you would say that, dude. I knew it, and so that's why I sent him. So there are people who are ready for it, and people really do like those. And I think it's really cool. I just think it's gonna. It doesn't hurt them once they have the capability and they have that. They can make those slabs that fit those specific things and train people to be able to actually look and grade them correctly. It doesn't hurt to do it. It just opens up more business for them. And if one market like Funko really drops off a cliff, which is probably not something they were really counting on as when they were developing the Funko grading whole like shebang, they have other things to lean on that can possibly, like maybe the uptick in comics really helps them. So it's just really good business practices to add more to their slate and not be so restrictive like they were in the past. I think it just goes to show what good Nat is doing for the company. We're seeing time and time again the innovations and the move forwards, the great leaps forward that PSA seems to be making. And I think it all has to do with that new ownership. So Nat, come on the podcast. We love you. Please come here. We would
Yeah,
love
for
to
real.
have you on sometime.
Yeah, I think PSA is killing it, and I guess this is kind of like this gives us an opportunity talk a little bit of doo-doo on Beckett. It's like, dog, Beckett, CGC is out here like doing things, making upgrades. PSA is out here doing things, making upgrades. Like, Beckett, please, dog, like please, 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 like we want you so bad. And it was funny too, because right before we hopped on the podcast, Beckett had posted a black label of the PSA One Piece card. Like someone had sent the PSA One Piece promo into Beckett, and it was like the post was just like a little winky face emoji, and it was like, you're trying to be cheeky because you because you gave out a black label, but the promo is between Bandai and PSA, and you arguably, like, more people go to Beckett with DBZ stuff, with One Piece stuff, with Weiss stuff, and you guys haven't lined anything up, as well, at least like as far as we know yet. Yeah, man, it's just like, if PSA is going to continue at this rate, I don't see how any competitor, whether it's Tag or BGS or CGC, like I just don't see how any of these other companies can compete or will ever be able to compete. And it almost makes me worry about like long-term potential value of some of these other slabs, because PSA just continues to absorb more and more market share. I don't know, man.
I just
like
cracked 2 CGC 9s today.
Oh no, is that the basic trainer? The basic trainer play? But yeah, man, I like Beckett. Like I have a lot of DBZ stuff in Beckett, but like as a company, like it's, man, like they're rough to deal with. The customer service isn't great. Like the submission process isn't great, and it's
slabs don't look great either. They really don't.
Well, it sucks because most of the stuff I have in it is like the DBZ prisms, and because of the inner sleeve, you have to hold it at like the right angle to not get like the reflection and to see the sort of like hollow on the prism. So
you missed me with that inner sleeve bullshit as a grading company. You are a grading company.
Like, look at how good that looks. You know what I mean? Like, look at how good that hollow looks in the PSA with no inner sleeve. It's tough to, I don't know, man. And the thing is too, is PSA is starting to grade more dust. Like I sent a bunch of phone cards to them randomly that I didn't have any information on. I just chucked them in and put it in as like DBZ phone card, and they graded all of them except for one. So PSA has expanded a lot on like just different niche stuff that they'll grade. I think it would be cool to get like, I think her name's like Gezi or something, but she does the she's like the TCG subject matter expert at PSA. Like I think it would be cool to get her and maybe like some other people that work at PSA that are responsible for kind of broadening their horizons. I think it would be cool to kind of like get them on a podcast and talk to them, and they're just killing it, dude. Like it just is what it is. Like PSA is, yeah, they're crushing it. So I don't know. That's all I got to say about that. So.
Yeah, so as far as other grading companies concerned, you better step up, because PSA is grading. They're coming to take your lunch money. Like they're literally come for, if Universal is coming for Disney's lunch money, PSA has come and taken everyone else's lunch money. So,
dude, this is such a fact. So what's hilarious about this comment, I sent in, and this was like a PC card, which was like made it even more, just hurt even more. I sent a card in because they had sealed a piece of plastic in the card. And so I wrote on the submission, I was like, hey, like I need this recased. There's a piece of plastic like right here. Da, 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 da. They took it. They charged me. They supposedly recased it. The piece of plastic is still in there. Still in there. So like,
let's just take the sucker's money and then send it back. Come here. This sucker's giving us more money. Come here.
Oh man.
Becky, look at this, Joe. Look at this. He's giving us money over here.
do better, Beckett, please, for the love of God.
We want to like Beckett. We want to use Beckett. I want to do the black label thing, but it's just.
I think though too, like Beckett, because they have, even though everybody like hates the submission process and the customer service and all that stuff, like the product still has demand, and they haven't done anything to like shake consumer confidence like CGC has, and I think that's why the black labels still sell. Like, people used to be like, oh, CGC pristine or perfect or whatever the new gold one is called or whatever. People were hyped on it, but like now after they've made like so many changes, people are less confident and aren't as impressed with like the whatever the Black Label version from CGC is, whereas like Beckett Black Labels, they always print. Like it just is what if you hit a Black Label at Beckett, like you're making dumb money. Like it just is what it is. Whereas with CGC on the right card, it'll sell for a premium to a PSA 10, but it's just not as attractive as the Beckett product. So was there
It's
anything?
unfortunate that that's the case too, because they've been around for so long too. So if anyone's watching that works for Beckett, just do better. Tell your coworkers to be better. Maybe get them some donuts sometime. Boost the morale around that place a little bit. Do anything like a pizza party. What there's got
Pizza
to be
part, yeah.
something.
But
Yeah.
keep the pizza away from the slabs. We don't need any more
Oh,
particulates
that's a
in
good point. Maybe not a pizza party. Keep the food out of there.
yeah, keep the food out of the slabs. But okay, was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we
Unless you
wrap
can
it up?
think of anything, I feel like we've hit on pretty much everything. We don't need to specifically talk about Stellar Miracle. We've already kind of talked a little bit about that when we were talking about the other stuff. Unless you have anything you want to say about Stellar Miracle moving forward.
No, I mean nothing like too deep. I think it's cool. I think that there was like 2 or 3 cool chase cards in it. I think that the rainbow rarity looks kind of cool. The borders look nice. I'm excited to get those in hand and see what those cards look like in hand. But it seems like a step in the right direction. It wasn't quite as bad as Night Wander, but it's still not like Pokemon cooking to their fullest potential. So I think we'll just have to be patient and wait for a real banger set to come out.
Imagine
But
opening 36 packs, a whole booster box of this set. Imagine.
of Stellar Crown, of Stellar Crown. Well, we'll see what the other half of Stellar Crown is, but I legitimately think that the Terapagos is going to do okay. I really do, and I think the waifus might do okay. We'll see. Like I'll let you know because I bought some to grade, but I didn't buy any chase cards from Night Wander. I think the only one I bought was the chick with the hooded sweatshirt doing the computer
Cassiopeia.
hacking. Yeah, that was the only one I bought, and that one actually did okay too. That one sold, but I
She's a
didn't
cool
like.
character. I like her.
Yeah, like the Okie Dogie and Pheasantipity. Like, nah,
It's
I didn't
not
buy any.
it. Those
Yeah,
guys are not it.
I didn't buy any of that stuff. So a little bit happier with Stellar Miracle, but still not like ecstatic or anything. But yeah, market has been good. Business has been good. I've been working on it. I've like for so long, but I have like a day in the life businessy vlog that I need to finish up and finally drop and come out with. So I'm trying to get that done in like the next few days or something. Because I've had a bunch of that footage for like a month or something. It's just sitting in Premiere Pro. So I just have to finish recording it and getting it out there. Trying to do like consistent content or figure out a way to do consistent content. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I will say this. Maybe either later this week or well, I guess it's already Thursday. So if not tomorrow, then probably next week. But I want to do a video that's kind of like educational, but also just less markety. Like I wanna pick out a bunch of cards that I have that aren't maybe some Pokemon, but like primarily like non-Pokemon stuff, and kind of like show cards that people maybe haven't seen or aren't really like readily familiar with, and like talk about the history of them a little bit and show the art and just kind of like show people different cool stuff and just do it live and like have I don't know, 30 to 50 cards that I go through and show people, and then like people can ask questions or whatever. But I've been thinking about that for a while because a long time ago, Nesto made made me a thumbnail. It's do you know Strictly Sealed, the Yu-Gi-Oh guy? Have you heard? Okay, well, they're like one of the bigger like Yu-Gi-Oh market channels is this guy named Strictly Sealed, and Nesto photoshopped my face onto his face, what like me making a goofy face onto his face, and he replaced it and wrote Strictly Dust. So I feel like that would be the perfect um, thumbnail for like a live around like all this super nichey sort of interesting stuff that maybe people aren't like really familiar with or whatever. I've been meaning to use that thumbnail for a while, and I feel like that would be perfect opportunity. So probably not going to get any crazy views or whatever because it's not Pokemon, but it's been something I've been thinking about for a while. And I know you have something that you were thinking about doing for a while, and I still have not seen you do it. So I'm waiting for you to make that content. So
yeah, it's always in the works. I'm still working on some stuff that is kind of in the back burner. Obviously, with my more life stuff, my personal life stuff that's happened in this last week or two, it's been really put on the back burner. But definitely interested in what I have coming out.
yeah, I am too. I'm excited to see if you end up doing this. Mick says One Piece visual adventure dust. Yes, there will be some One Piece visual adventure. Shout out to you for even knowing what that is. You are a real one. But yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like there was more of that stuff maybe during the pandemic, but maybe I'm not watching the right channels or whatever. But I feel like nobody talks about that kind of stuff anymore. I feel like Jake used to do that a little bit. Like he would have different people on that were into different things, and they would kind of talk about some of the more niche stuff or whatever. But yeah, I haven't really seen any content like that. So yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of the stuff I want to make. Like I enjoy like putting it out and like getting a video out. It's getting into the mindset of thinking like, oh, okay, I need to film this and I need to film this and how do I make this interesting? But I don't know, like YouTube's fun. Like I enjoy doing this podcast a lot. Like keep and it's fun to have somebody to like bounce ideas off of too. And like we don't always agree, obviously, which makes for good content, but also like sometimes will make me think of things different ways and maybe makes you think of things different ways. And yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like maybe like Pokemon conversations or just card conversations have maybe like died down a little bit as far as like people are just kind of talking about like the same stuff over and over, and people are just sort of waiting for like something to react to, like a price drops or like a price pops off or whatever, and then people make content, but there isn't really like anything new or interesting. You know what I mean? Like I kind of feel like I don't really learn a lot anymore from watching um, Pokemon YouTube. Like, do you feel that way at all, or like do you still feel like you get a good amount of value?
Because I'm not as active with like eBay as I have been in the past, I'm not able to like see the market as it moves. Like I used to really, really be on like the market, like auctions on eBay, just watching things and buying things as well, but mostly watching to see how things move so that when I would see the movements, it wouldn't surprise me as much. And I've taken a bit of a backseat to that because I don't sell as much on eBay anymore. So I'm just not on there as much and I'm moving in other outlets. And so like I found that I rely a lot more on YouTube content that I like auction recaps, like weekly, like what's moving, what's not, like top 10 alt arts that have dropped or moved up sort of thing. Like shout out to Pika Pika Papa, great content, really good graphs and like numbers based content. I rely on that stuff more than I did in the past because I'm not staying as engaged with it like I was, like seeing it happen. But I see it every weekend when I go out to the shows and hear what people are saying and buying and selling, and I kind of look it up then. So I guess, yeah, I don't really consume as much Pokemon content these days as much anymore. I do rely on it, but I really do more market research based on that. Oh, wow. Someone just, Legend of Luke. Let's go, Luke. We appreciate you. Just dropped a really, really nice super chat for us. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a long time in the coming. I don't know if you were around in the beginning when I was explaining it, but we were 10 years. This is going on our 10th year of actually being together. We were engaged for longer than a year, a little almost 2 years at this point. So long time in the coming. Thank you very much. We're very happy, and I will pass along that to Sarah.
Yeah, shouts out to Luke. He's a cool dude. I feel like I've met him I think twice now at different shows, and he's always been a Mason's wild. But yeah, he's always a super cool nice guy, and it makes cool videos too. I didn't even know for like the longest time that he had a channel, but found it, and like all of his content is really well edited and all that sort of stuff. But okay, and then Dan shows up.
Man, it's rolling in. Yeah, no, shout out,
Just
thank
rolling
you,
in
Dan.
the dough.
I am not making memberships to my channel. I apologize to anyone who's waiting for it. You're just gonna have to
Anti,
continue waiting indefinitely.
you're a
I
communist.
won't do
You need to
that, but I
get those
will
get those
allow for
memberships
the super
cracking.
chats, so it's greatly appreciated. But I'm sure Retro has a 99-cent thing, and I don't want to make people double. I don't want people to be doing a membership for me and then a membership for him. I'd rather just the one membership situation with the podcast. But I really appreciate the super chat, so thank you so much. I really
I
appreciate
think I'm the only one that's paying for memberships on my channel. I think YouTube gives you like 5 or 10 a month, and I usually hand those out. Give
I
the
bet
people
you
what.
there's more than just you. I bet you.
Well, I haven't been super consistent lately and haven't done a lot of live stuff, so that's probably part of it too. But Mason says give the people what they want. Double dip me.
No,
Also says
I
something else that
refuse
I
to
will not be
make or even allow
bringing
people
on
to
pod.
double dip. I
I will
refuse
not.
it because to me it's the same content, and I would never allow for you to pay for it twice. Now, if we ever merge the channel or if it ever comes on one, then it's a totally different situation. But I never had the intention of doing memberships. That's never been so, but it's still greatly appreciated thought. But just going back though, speaking of Luke, because I have actually watched a lot of his channel more so than I have in some other Pokemon channels, because the type of content that is the old style of content that I started watching Pokemon with, which is more like genuine. It's like he'll go out and do hunt videos, he'll go out and he'll do market videos too, but he does not make the type of content that we make, and I really appreciate that in that content. So that's something I will say that Luke does great. Is he does a really great just everyday content that I actually do find myself watching more than say. Not shout out to Danny Phantom. I love his channel, but I never watch his videos anymore. Like I love Danny Phantom, but for some reason I can't find myself getting the same level of I don't know, enjoyment. So I don't know. You do a good job, Luke. So I do appreciate that, but you can't tell a content creator enough that they do a good job because, Lord knows YouTube doesn't pay much and it's hard to get views out here. And any bit of encouragement helps for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's I don't know, like it's always nerve wracking, like going to put something out or whatever, and then you're like, oh, are people gonna like this, or are people gonna like hate on me or crap on what I'm trying to do, or
Damn it, Dan. Dan is losing his mind over there. He needs to go on Whatnot or something. This is a man who probably for the best doesn't have a Whatnot account, but if he did, it would only take a matter of about 2 to 3 months before it became a problem, like a real problem. And he would justify it because he has so many friends on Whatnot. Like he's got friends on this, so he's like, "Oh, it's a friend. I'm supporting a friend," But this
Here's
man
my
is a
prediction.
wild man, and we appreciate him nonetheless.
I think Dan is at that point to where like he's not going to do his own eBay live or whatnot. He's just gonna wait for like the homies to build up their platforms and then just distribute a bunch of like his product that he would have sold normally on the live to all these. I see Dan's solds. Okay, I know what Dan is selling. Dan is no
I'm keeping
longer.
tabs on people. Dang.
No, like I have access to the eBay, like I'm selling the booster
This
detailed in an upcoming video. But
Retro
listen,
knows when you're not selling. He knows when you're away on eBay. He
listen.
will be disappointed if you leave and you put your away. You better keep your selling going over the weekend if you go on vacation.
Listen, I will just say
Monday.
Nothing has made me more bullish on MetaZoo than having access to Dan's eBay. That's all I'll say. I'm extremely bullish on MetaZoo. Really quick, Swami asked this a while back. Why was Visual Adventure always the best across the IPs? Was it special art that the artist went in on? So Visual Adventure, all of whether it's Dragon Ball, I think they actually only did Dragon Ball and One Piece for Visual Adventure, but all those arts are key manga covers and promotional art, like key promotional art. And so that's why it's like the best stuff because it's from like the key manga covers and things like that. So like all those cards, the prisms and the non-prisms are all covers or promotional art or stuff like that. So that's why that stuff hits a little bit harder. Whereas like the Honden and the Super Battle and some of the other stuff is either like stills from the anime or different like custom images that were created, but they're not like as like they're not key moments, I guess, most of the time. So yeah.
Listen, I have to shout Mason out real quick because I'm gonna give this is gonna go to Sarah and she's gonna get a nice Starbucks for this and I'm gonna appreciate it. We'll put some soy milk in there for you for sure in the Starbucks when we get it.
$5 just gets you in the door at Starbucks. You can't even get a coffee for that.
Listen, I called for the One Piece death of a TCG in two sets in this podcast. I said that CT scanners were better. I laid out an entire argument that it's going to be better for the hobby that CT scanners exist, and they don't. And we talked about the Sword and Shield crash and how I think Evolving Skies will go to 400, and I think I gave somewhat of a reasonable argument as to how it could happen with other pressure from more modern sets and then the continued pressure from people selling, because I don't think that people are made of money, especially the hype boys. So I beg to differ. I think this was a spicy one. So, but nonetheless, we'll get some extra soy milk for you tomorrow in the Starbucks.
I thought it was a pretty good one too. I also think the hat is not being given enough credit. It's funny because like I know it's the Luffy hat, but it's giving me Southern church lady vibes. You know what I'm talking about? Like
heavens to Betsy.
Yeah.
Bless you, retrospects. Bless your heart.
Where like the ladies wear like the crazy big hats to church or whatever. Like that's kind of a vibe. It's hilarious. I think if you wore that to a show, I don't know. I think you might get more sales than with the magic card. Josh needs a sundress. All right, this is going off the rails.
Talking about getting more sales. If I wore a sundress to a show, I would definitely get some good sales. But here's the thing: that's for the OnlyFans. Okay, I'm holding out. That one. So you're gonna have to wait.
Yeah. No channel memberships, but maybe some other memberships in the future to spend your money on and support through. But yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I do want to bring this up though. Pokechef brings up a good point. Before we go too far down,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. No argument for me
superior milk, the non-dairy milk, in your opinion, out of all of the different types of fruit milks or nut milks or whatever the various bean milks. I don't know that if you know a rice milk. Like what other kind of non?
Oh yeah, I'm not mad at rice milk. To be,
I'm a coconut milk kind of guy. I like a good
coconut milk is fire. Yeah, I forgot about coconut milk might be it because there's the sweet and the savory applications, and it's good for you, right?
I'm a huge coconut water drinker. I drink a lot of it because it's really good for my stomach and digestion and electrolytes. It gets me hydrated. So I love coconut water.
Yeah.
So.
It's really good for you. It's because coconuts are like a seed, and like anything you get directly from a seed is like really good for you. It's kind of like a lot of people will blend the pit of an avocado because there's a lot of nutrients in the pit of an avocado, so people will like blend that into smoothies and stuff like that. But like coconut milk, my girlfriend and I, we buy like the big packs of coconut milk at Costco, and we use that for like protein shakes and different stuff like that. But I mean, you can make like curry with it, and like there's all sorts of stuff you can do with coconut milk.
It's okay in cereal when you're out of milk and you have some coconut milk and you don't have real milk. You shake it up real good. It's okay in a pinch. I've found that the other types of milk, soy milk, it feels weird. I don't really like soy milk.
Dog. Like I don't. It's like I got a weird fake sweet. Like plus like soy's not great for dudes as is anyways. So yeah, not a huge soy milk fan. The one thing I will say, like rice milk. Do you like nigori? Like nigori sake?
Yeah, I like sake. I like sake a lot. Yeah.
But do you like the stuff that's still got the rice pulp in it, like the nigori?
Oh, I've never had it, so I wouldn't know.
Oh, it's good, dude. It's good. Like you can either get like the super clear, clean sake, but like the unfiltered where it's still got the rice pulp in it. It's pretty good. So that's all right. But before we get too crazy off the rails, last minute recommendations. Kaiju number 8. Go watch it. Super awesome. You, Josh, you need to watch The Bear ASAP. Like you need to watch The Bear. And I think that's pretty much it for me as far as recommendations
I'm
go, do
gonna
you
I'm
do you,
gonna
do
go
you have
ahead and
any?
mark another one
Yeah.
on the wall for a recommendation for the bear. We're on week number 17 now for bear recommendations here. I'm keeping
Yeah,
a
yeah,
running
yeah.
tally.
Do you have any recommendations? Have you been watching anything lately that you like, whether it's TV or YouTube or whatever?
Yeah, so I recently finished up the newest Star Wars series, The Acolyte, and while I wouldn't necessarily recommend watching it from a weekly thing, now that it's all over, I can have a full take a step back and look at it. I really loved some of the fight scenes in that series and some of the action sequences in that series so much upon further reflection that the story itself, I know there's a lot of heat surrounding it, whatever. I don't think you should watch that show for the story per se, but you should watch the show for what it does for the whole fandom of Star Wars. Because in my opinion, it gave some of the best fight scenes and some of the coolest it's called The Acolyte because it's about Sith, and it gives some of the coolest Sith interactions and exposure that we've ever seen in Star Wars. So I think
So
that was a cool show that even if you're not into the story of it, it's worth a watch as a Star Wars fan, in my opinion. So I finished
so
that
why?
recently. Like I said, I just got married, so we haven't been watching
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
this last week. We've got a lot to prepare for. So the boys, I love the boys, and I just started watching the newest season. So I know that's not something that I think you really follow much, the boys, but I think that's a pretty good series too. It's kind of like what I describe it as it's like Invincible but live action. If you've ever seen that Invincible TV show, the cartoon. Oh, you haven't
Uh,
seen that? Okay, well, okay, so never mind.
I
Forget what I
probably
said
should.
about
I like
the boys.
superhero stuff.
So the Invincible series, if you haven't watched it, if you who are listening and you, Nick, haven't heard of or watched the Amazon Prime series called Invincible, Invincible is one of my favorite and best animated series that's come out in the last I think it's 5 years. Yeah. They just did their newest season. It was finished up earlier this year. So that's all. You're going to have to wait another year or two before the next season. But you have 3 seasons to watch of that, and it's great. Oh, shout out to Tom. Tom down in the comments. Yeah, House of the Dragon. I'm just so regular with House of the Dragon. We watch it the minute it releases that I forgot about that. House of the Dragon is insane right now, bro. I
Okay, I
love it.
I haven't seen it. I liked Game of Thrones. It got a little it's like
This
a
is
little
better than
much.
Game of
A
Thrones,
little
Nick,
much.
because this is way better than Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, because I know what
Really?
you're going to say.
Okay.
You and everyone in the mother feels the same way. I'm right there with you about the end of Game of Thrones. Awesome series. Let's skip all that. This series is everything Game of Thrones wishes it could have been because it's not directly following a book that was written about what's happening. So the way this series is set up, now follow me here closely. It's based on the account of a maester and a fool who recount the events of these happenings in a book 100 years later. So it's when you read the book that this is based on, you're reading it secondhand on some maester's account of how he saw it happen. So now in the HBO series, they're doing it as it really happened. You're not getting the maester's account. The fool isn't even there, so he's not even in the story. And so you're getting a lot of creative liberty with HBO. So you're not getting a whole story, but they're telling more of a more of an entire story. Bro, it's brilliant. Chef's kiss. You need to be watching House of the Dragon. If you're not, it's some of the best television on right now. I mean, if you can handle a little gore and a little sex, then what are you doing? Watch House of the Dragon.
Yeah. All right. I might. There was something else that was on HBO Max that I was thinking about renewing my membership for. They have a lot of the superhero stuff on there. They have Justice League and Static Shock and Teen Titans and all that sort of stuff. But I think I finished. What was it? What was that show called? Oh my god, what was it? It was Succession. That's what it was.
Okay.
Succession. I finished. It was good, dude, but it was just everybody was there was no good guy in that show. Like everybody was a bad guy, and it was just like, which bad guy do you like? It was kind of depressing, and
I heard that's a good show, but it's not really my cup of tea. I'm more of like a superhero fandom kind of thing, and like, yeah, it's another. Okay, so here's another thing that I know a lot of people listening probably haven't heard of this, and maybe you haven't either. But there's a show called The Legend of Machina, or The Legend of Vox Machina. It's basically a cartoon that Amazon made about a Dungeons and Dragons group that was made into like a story. And it's a really, really good show. It has 2 seasons. It's an animated show. It has good story, good voice acting. I can't say much about it other than it's if you like D&D, it's unlike anything else that I've ever seen made because it's so gritty and realistic, but also so fun and to the nature of the game that if you're a true nerd who likes that kind of culture, The Legend of Vox Machina is a fantastic watch that I think anyone listening would probably like watching. It's a kind of a deep cut though. It's not some. It's been out for a few years. It's based on Critical Role, which is a podcast in the Dungeons and or in like the Pathfinder Dungeons and Dragons realm. So like if you know of Critical Role, you probably know about The Legend of Vox Machina, but that's also a very good one.
Have you seen that they're coming out with the Lord of the Rings anime?
Yeah, I'm here for anything Lord of the Rings, even the Rings of
Yeah,
Power. I was still here for that
yeah,
because like
yeah,
I love Lord of the Rings, man. I just absolutely love
yeah.
it.
We watched it too. I like it a lot. Me and my girlfriend both love Lord of the Rings. I feel like every couple of years, especially over winter, we'll do the tomato soup grilled cheese sandwich, watch through the original trilogy. But I'm hyped. She's a little more skeptical about the anime, but I am personally hyped for an anime version of Lord of the Rings. I think it's going to be sick. Another thing I heard too on this other podcast I listened to, they're coming out with a kind of a, I think it might be rated MA, but it's a Batman animated series called like it's called like Batman Noir. So it's kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
it's like old school gangster set kind of like there's gonna be like like Gotham mobsters with like Tommy guns and stuff like it's gonna be like noir era sort of stuff. So I'm excited for that. Like I think that'll be really cool. And then recently on Hulu, I haven't watched it yet, but they just came out with it's like an anime version of Suicide Squad. So I don't know. Like I might check that out and see if that's any good. But anime is definitely taking over slowly but surely and doing more and more collabs. They did that on Disney Plus with I think it was called like Star Wars Visions or something like that. But they have like
Oh,
different,
so good. Star Wars
so
Visions is
good,
like
dude,
so good. It's a
so
love
good.
letter to Star Wars. The Star Wars
Yeah,
Visions. Yeah.
like they could make an entire like Star Wars anime movie or Star Wars anime series because I know so many people are like hyped about the old like Clone Wars that they did on Cartoon Network. It's like, dog, if you guys did an anime, oh man,
Well,
good
that's
with
the
like a
guy who
good
did
animation studio.
the Samurai Jack. The guy who did Samurai Jack did the old Clone Wars animation for that. So like he's such a
Samurai Jack
beloved.
was filthy, dog. I love Samurai
One
Jack.
of the
That
best
show
cartoons of all time, Samurai Jack, hands
so
down,
good.
solid, start to finish. It has a beginning, a middle, and end. It finishes beautifully. The last season they came out with recently on Cartoon Network ended up nicely too. Oh man, it was a good, yeah.
Yeah, with the demon, what's his name? Aku or
Ah,
something like the
cool. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, I need to throw that
Rest
show
in
on the
peace,
watch
bro.
list.
That was
I,
Uncle Iroh. That was Uncle Iroh from Amazon, from the Last Airbender,
oh, he
the
did the
voice
voice of
actor.
Aku.
Yeah, so he passed
Okay.
away. Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah. Damn. I got a lot of shows I need to go back through. I'm kind of bummed that Kaiju number 8 is because like my girlfriend and I have been looking for like a new season of show to like start and get really okay. This has been going forever. We got to wrap up soon, but like, dog, last night it was because it's #1 on Netflix. We
Mm-hmm.
tried it. We watched the first episode of Cobra Kai. Dog, it is the cheesiest thing, the worst acting, the most predictable story arcs. but it's number one on Netflix right now, and people have been so hyped. So I don't know if people are just riding on that.
Is it new? Is there a new season?
There's 6 seasons of it. So apparently, like the newest season just came out. But like if you watch the trailer for it on Netflix, it's so cheesy. The acting is so bad. The lines are so. But Doc, like it's been, like I said, it's number one on Netflix, and people have been hyped about it for like years now. I don't personally see why. We watched one episode and I was like, dog, this is pure cheese ball. But let us know in the comments if you're a huge Cobra Kai fan, because maybe I'm just dusted or whatever. But I love the Karate Kid movies, and I don't think I'll be watching another episode of Cobra Kai personally.
I feel like it's one of those things that like you have to kind of give it a chance. Is kind of what Cobra Kai seems like, that kind of show, because I've heard good things about it too, but I haven't seen all the Karate Kid movies. I've only seen the first one. So
if you watch Cobra Kai before you watch The Bear, we're gonna have a problem.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many other good things to watch that I've never been able to really watch Cobra Kai, even though it's been on my radar. So, if it is good, tell us in the comments, because maybe it is. But I just want to comment on this. I know you're a little late, and we appreciate you, but you'll have to go back and skip to. We put down in the scrolling a little like banner the part where it says Bandai told you Bandai told you so. That's the part where we talk about One Piece, and let's just say my opinions on One Piece haven't quite changed that much, but I do have some opinions on it. That's for sure. It's a cool hat, though, for sure, right?
Yeah, we like that. We like the hat for sure. But all right, any last things to say in closing before we wrap it up?
Thank you for everyone who came out and hung out with us tonight. Like I announced, I waited 2 days or 3 days before like formally announcing the wedding, because I thought it would be a fun little announcement to make on the stream. So anyone who is here for that or is here now to hear that, thank you for being here. Now I can change my Facebook and I change everything and make it official and starting phone calls and stuff off the hook from people who we didn't already tell. But other than that, no, I'll see you guys probably next week. Maybe if we can get to it next week, I think that's the intention. I have no reason why not. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do it. But then after that, we'll see you guys in Seattle, because both Nick and I will be doing a live show at the Front Row Card Show. And maybe we'll try to do a little live stream while we're doing something, or maybe walking around, or just kind of do a little something while we're there. So that could be something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'll have my girlfriend with me, so I'll have somebody to watch the table, so I can do a little content. I'll bring the mics and my phone and all that sort of stuff, and try to get some content so that we have something to show for it, especially if we're going to be doing a local good size show together. Another thing I will say is I talked to the lady on the phone that's running it, and they said that they already have plans to come back in the future, which I'm excited about, because it'll be nice to get like a big size card show out here, since Collecticons can't seem to make it happen. Card Party's doing it, Front Row's doing it, Collecticon, what the hell are y'all doing? Like, we need more West Coast shows.
Seattle, Portland, anywhere.
More West Coast stuff. So yeah, congratulations again, man, on the wedding thing. Like, trust me, to people out there watching, like, this was not like a fake reaction. Like, I had no idea that this happened. So I'm really happy for you, and I'm excited to treat you to a nice dinner when you come into town. So everybody congratulate Josh in the comments for getting married, and leave some nice wishes, and buy him everything on his Amazon wish list, all the Fusion Strike packs he could ask for. So
well, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to going to Seattle and seeing the Wizards of the Coast home base, because that is something I intend on doing, is maybe going up and seeing that big giant beholder statue that's in their lobby, because that's something I'd love to do, just on my bucket list. So that would be a fun time. So anyone, if you're out in the Seattle area, come see us at the Front Row Card Show, and let's have a good time. Otherwise, thanks, everyone. I'm going to go have a late dinner, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Adios.